Trigger alert, trigger alert. In this podcast, the hosts make light of serious situations that happen in real life. This may or may not include sexual assault. If you expect these topics will make you feel uncomfortable, we urge you to press stop and listen to some other episode of Caustic Soda. Thanks.
This is the Gulag Rurapente. There is no stockade, no guard tower, no electronic frontier. Only a magnetic shield prevents beaming. Punishment means exile from prison to the surface. On the surface, nothing can survive. Work well, and you will be treated well. Work badly, and you will die.
As far as jokes go, the iron gag is lock solid. I'm Kevin Leeson.
Prison hoax, less smashing, and more hard labor. I'm Torrin Atkinson.
Cruel prison guard thinks he's in charge. Some prisoners poked holes in that theory. I'm Joe Foljam, and this is Caustic Soda. The word prison comes from Latin prehensio, which means a taking, so captivity, and therefore by extension a place for captives, which is the main modern sense.
Prehensio.
It kind of sounds like a Shakespeare character.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm Prehensio.
Yeah.
Look at my tail.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's something anti-Semitic thrown in for good measure.
Maybe.
Yeah. The word jail comes from the late 13th century. Jail, G-A-Y-H-O-L.
Are you sure that's not pronounced gay hole?
I am not sure of anything right now. It's from Old North French jail and Old French jail, both meaning a cage or prison.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Dikephobia, D-I-K-E phobia, is not fear of Ellen DeGeneres, as my mistyping, Googling to double-check it, found out it is actually the fear of justice.
Oh.
And clythrophobia or chlysiophobia is the fear of being locked in an enclosed space.
That happens in prison sometimes.
I think it does, yeah.
Now, we already talked about POW camps.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about prison tattoos in the body modification episode.
Okay.
Listeners could revisit the improvised weapons episode for some information on shanks.
Right?
For example, the 1 minute of toilet paper that we talked about. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So are we going to have anything left to talk about? I mean,
Oh my God,
you're
yes.
crossing off a lot of things.
When on the alcohol episode, we talked about Pruno.
We definitely.
Who remembers what
I think we
Pruno
even
is?
did talk about Pruno in a follow-up.
They make Pruno in a toilet, right?
Actually, I found out that more often it happens because each prisoner gets a box to put under their bed.
Okay.
So they just throw like the ketchup and the oranges and the bread and whatever else into that box. And then it opens up and smells like barf, and you drink it, and you get drunk.
Right.
Nice.
I think miscarriage of justice will be its own episode.
Oh, okay.
So
The
like
old wrongful conviction.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, excellent. Okay.
Prison riot will be its own episode.
Of course.
Wow.
Of
So
course.
much content in prisons.
I love their music, too.
Prison riot?
I guess it
Yeah,
sounds
the
like
Russian girls. The Russian girls. I love their music. But they were in prison,
they
right?
were in prison. That's right.
And prison break also will not be discussed today. It'll be its own episode.
When we break prisons.
Yeah, when we
Like
snap
when we
them in
break a
half.
story about a prison, or when we like knock down a wall of a prison, or
All of the above.
Okay.
Anything that are breaking except for your spirit,
right,
we talked about.
which happens pretty much constantly.
Or your hymen.
Oh,
And solitary confinement, I think, can probably be its own episode as well.
okay. Solitary confinement is
Wow.
going to be its own episode.
So we're going to talk about prisons, but only when you're in there with other people? Holy cow.
At its most basic level,
Uh-huh.
the fundamental difference between jail and prison is the length of stay for inmates.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Jails are usually run by local law enforcement and or local government agencies and are designed to hold inmates awaiting trial or serving a short sentence.
Oh, so this is like drunk tanks.
Yeah.
This is what I see when I watch that sheriff cop spinoff.
There's a cop spinoff called Sheriff?
Spinoff, copycat, whatever you
not-
want to call it.
I guess I should remove the surprise from my voice.
Yeah. There was like a sheriff spinoff of Sheriffs with Steven Seagal in it.
Yeah. I mean, you really can't get much cheaper than put some guys with a camera in a car and follow cops around and film
You
stuff.
certainly can't get much cheaper than Steven Seagal.
Prisons are operated by state governments and are designed to hold individuals convicted of crimes.
Right.
This is true in the U.S. and Canada. Pop quiz.
They are not allowed pop in prisons.
Oh, that's cruel and unusual
Probably not
punishment.
true.
Probably not true. Okay. All right.
Prison, especially PepsiCo's prison.
The one owned by PepsiCo? Yeah.
I would be brewing my own carbonated beverage in my little box. That's what I would be doing in order
Just
to get
by farting in it?
Yeah, I mean, you use whatever kind of bubbles you can get.
In the PepsiCo prison, it probably says, like, bottled in, and then, like, the state where you're from, on their prison uniforms.
Thanks to our researcher helper, Dave E., for a bunch of this stuff. What U.S. state imprisons more people per capita than any other state?
Texas.
Oh, it's got to be Texas.
Louisiana.
Oh!
The Louisiana State Penitentiary.
It's the big easy. It's not the big locky. It's not the big prison-y. It's the big easy. What the hell is going on in Louisiana?
Well, it's easy to get into prison.
Oh, I thought it meant something else. I thought everybody was easy going.
The Louisiana State Penitentiary is a maximum security prison farm.
Okay.
It is sometimes called Angola, after the name of the post office that serves the prison.
As opposed to the sweaters that they make there.
Yes, Angola is the country's largest maximum security prison, with 6,300 offenders and 1,800 staff.
Okay.
From the beginning, that's 1835, it was a brutal for-profit farming operation. A system in some ways reminiscent of slavery, but with less incentive to keep the workers alive.
Right, because you haven't invested anything in them. You've just taken them off the street, so to speak. And 1835 did predate, the abolition of slavery.
Who knows what a panopticon is? Panopticon.
That is the transformer that goes from a flute-playing satire to a giant eyeball. The panopticon.
Right.
It sounds like something that you would store supervillains in, like some kind of supervillain prison, right? Isn't it a prison design where, like, it's easy to keep an eye on all the prisoners or something like that?
Yes, in 1791, a British social reformer designed the panopticon. The prison design allows a centrally placed observer to survey all the inmates as prison wings radiated out from its central position.
Oh, so it's like shaped like a wheel.
Yes, shaped like a wheel, with the guards in a tower at the spoke of the wheel.
Right, okay.
All right.
Yeah, looking up. The term comes from Panoptes, a mythological Greek giant who had 100 eyes.
Oh, all right.
And his name comes from pan meaning all and optic meaning eyes. Yeah. So
why did convicts wear black and white stripes?
So that if they were like running through the field to escape, it would create a visual cue. Like you had the stalks going up and down of the corn or the wheat that they'd run through, and then the horizontal stripes would, make it easier for them to stop. It was like an optical thing.
Yeah, I thought it was just an easy way to identify them from the regular population.
They are not slimming like up and down stripes. So they really pop. They look wider than
our
they
prisoners
would
are all
look.
very well fed.
Yes, precisely.
Black and white striped prison uniform goes back to the Auburn prison system that started in New York in the 1820s. In this system, prisoners had to be silent, walk in lockstep, and they all wore black and white uniforms covered in stripes that symbolize prison bars. The uniforms made prisoners immediately recognizable as criminals, so if a prisoner escaped, the public could easily distinguish them from the non-criminal population.
That's right.
Gotcha.
Until those punk-ass kids started wearing stripy clothes because they thought it was cool to look like a prisoner.
Then they were all thrown in prison, and they said, that was a bad idea. Eventually, by the mid-20th century, these prison stripes fell out of favor and solid-colored jumpsuits became the norm. In recent years, though, the striped prison uniform has been making a comeback as more prisons are abandoning the orange jumpsuit. In fact, prison supplier Bob Barker...
Okay.
Like the host of The Price is Right?
Remember, folks, to spay and neuter all of your prisoners.
Like... That's not like
no,
a guy that
guy.
just happened to be named Bob. Okay.
He has a whole line of striped jumpsuits available in a rainbow of colors.
Can you get rainbow stripes?
I didn't see those. I did go to the website. It's just bobbarker.com.
Oh.
And you can, I
now,
invite all of our listeners.
Are you sure it's not Bob Arker?
It's America's leading detention supplier.
Oh, okay.
Maximum security.
And I invite everyone to go to the clothing section and take a gander at the models.
Ooh, I like the suicide isolation blanket.
Go to institutional uniforms.
It looks like the kind of thing that you would wear for Halloween, that you bought very cheaply somewhere.
I'm interested to know where... Did they hire these models? Did they just grab them out of prison and try to smile a little bit, maybe? Or don't be terribly sad?
No, I think these are actually detainees. That is and they're getting paid 50 cents an hour.
Probably. It's like, hey, who wants to come out of their cell for like 25 minutes?
Yeah.
You got to wear this orange
I think
striped
they're
jumpsuit.
legit detainees. I don't even think that's
it's probably we got your new uniforms. Here you go. You get a brand new one. Stand there. We're taking a picture. All right, fine.
Yeah.
Sign this form. Okay.
So for the extra humiliation.
Next question. In 1924, Pennsylvania Governor Gifford Pinchot allegedly sentenced a black Labrador retriever, Pep, to a life sentence at Eastern State Penitentiary. What was the charge?
Life sentence.
Dug up his rose garden.
Sniffing his balls.
Sniffing his balls.
Yeah.
Punishable
By
offense.
life sentence, yeah.
Pep allegedly murdered the governor's wife's cherished cat.
Oh.
Prison records support this story. Pep's inmate number C2559 is skipped in prison intake logs and inmate records. However, the reason for Pep's incarceration remains a subject for some debate. A contemporary newspaper article reported that the governor donated his own dog to the prison to increase inmate morale.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And you can view Pep's mugshot on causticsodapodcast.com.
Oh, okay. All right.
It could have been both. He could have killed the cat and gone, I can't keep it around the house. I'm just going to donate, air quotes, to the prison.
Because
That's true.
start with the cat, end with the kids.
Yeah, well,
You know,
just
Pep is on the ladder, the mauling ladder.
his wife can't look at the dog anymore, right?
Right.
Like it's every time she sees it, it's going to remember that's the dog that killed her cat.
Are you sure it wasn't just a misunderstanding when somebody said, "Oh, I wrecked that pussy"?
You think the dog said that?
Or something.
That's right. You're going to prison for talking. It's illegal for dogs to do that.
All right, here comes the prison slang part of the pop quiz.
Oh,
I'll give you the slang. You tell me what it means. Punk.
that is somebody who is of lesser social status in the yard.
Is that when you jump somebody? You punk them, you jump them and punch them from out of nowhere or something?
It is someone who performs sexual acts for little or no profit. Someone's bitch, quote
Okay,
unquote.
all right.
Okay.
Yahoo.
Oh, a really terrible search engine that nobody uses on the prison computers.
Oh, man. Yahoo is what you say when you're with your bitch, I guess.
No, it's because it's a terrible search engine that nobody uses. The prison slang is the most terrible thing that could possibly happen in the prison yard.
Oh, it's when you're looking for something but can't find it?
Yeah.
A Yahoo is someone who is always running their mouth about others.
Okay.
Binky. Binky.
Well, I know what that means to a kid. That typically means their blanket, right? Their little comforter. Maybe it's your binky is the person that you cuddle up with at night, like your blanket. Like you don't have sex with them, but you just
Oh, it's my security inmate.
Your security inmate. Yeah, just come here and keep me warm at night.
Maybe it is the blanket. It's like an extra, if you curry some favor with a guard, you can get an extra comfy blanket.
It's a pretty cute name for a blanket for prisoners, though. I need my binky. I can't sleep without it.
It is a homemade prison syringe.
Oh, because it's the noise it makes when it pierces your skin? Bink!
Yep. BB filler. BB filler.
BB filler.
BB filler.
That's the pedophile ward.
They have special words for those?
He's a baby filler, is what he's saying.
Oh,
It's
lordy.
terrible. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, lordy.
I'm sad. I feel bad that I figured it out and Torrin didn't. BB filler is probably I can't think of a big butt. It's a huge penis. It's a huge penis. It's a big butt filler.
Okay.
BB stands for body bag.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So-
dead
so-
person?
Is usually a very ill prisoner.
Oh, okay.
okay.
All right.
Bang up.
A bang up. That's a gangbang. Or the subject of the victim of a gangbang.
Bang up is probably where you jump somebody and fight them. There's got to be a word for that.
Time locked in a cell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
As opposed to out meandering about in the yard
All right.
or whatever.
Is that because the only entertainment you've got is banging on the door?
Brake fluid.
Brake fluid. Brake fluid is what you rub over your body so you can fit through your escape tunnel.
No, it's
Because
something
you break out with the fluid.
Yeah, right. I think it's just something that you drink. It's actually brake fluid. You just use it for intoxication purposes.
Oh, you drain it from from the cars out in the yard?
Yes.
Just,
Yeah.
Oh, God, brake fluid.
Delicious brake fluid.
So
Makes
literally,
me stop living.
So his answer to brake fluid is it's brake fluid.
Yeah, precisely.
Psychiatric meds. is the answer.
Okay.
Oh, psychotic break. So it stops your...
Well, it is spelled
They're all
B-R-A-K-E.
these- I see. I feel like I should be getting all these because they're all kind of plays on words and punny.
Yeah.
Dingwing?
Oh, that's the psychiatric word.
That is the psychiatric word.
Yeah,
there you go.
You knew that one.
Well, wing.
Well, it's either that or it's a dyslexic talking about his favorite font, Wingding.
Or
Yes.
or it's the dildo that they all share because it can fly around like a drone. It's got little wings.
I
It's the
got
ding
it.
wing.
That's the dong
Hey,
wong.
hey, send the dong wing over here. I need it tonight.
Hoe check, and that's H-O-E. Hoe check.
Okay, thank you.
Ho check. When the guards, check each cell for unauthorized sexual activity.
I'm going to say check each cell for holes because they think you used a hoe to make it.
It is a group beating given to a prisoner to see if he'll stand up for himself.
Okay.
Lock in a sock.
A weapon.
Literally a lock in a sock that you use to beat somebody with.
Yeah,
That
it's
is
a
correct.
weapon.
That is
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah. I watch Orange is the New Black.
Porcelain termite.
Porcelain termite is okay. So termites eat wood, but if it's a porcelain termite, it eats porcelain. So is that somebody that's puking in the toilet all the time?
Porcelain termite. Cavities. Cavities. It's a dental reference.
It is a prisoner who busts up the toilet or sink in a cell when he or she gets upset.
Okay, yeah.
Oh,
Prison pocket.
prison pocket.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the thing that you fuck.
Is it a hidden place that you keep your contraband?
It is a person's anus.
Uh-huh.
Where
Also
you
known
keep
as
your
a
contraband.
prison safe.
Yeah.
The safest place to keep drugs, shanks, dice, etc. during cell inspections and transfers.
We were both right.
And you can also fuck it.
I'm sure.
Yes, you can. Watch out for the shank that's in there.
Yeah, just make sure that the shank has been removed.
Backdoor parole. Backdoor parole.
Escape.
It's got something to do with fucking.
It is to die in prison. To die in prison is the backdoor
I
parole.
was sort of right.
Public service announcement. So you're going to prison.
Uh-huh.
Here's some tips.
Okay.
This is mainly for dudes, and some of this is U.S.-centric. Be sure to take advantage of any medical care outside of prison if you have enough time to do that before you go to prison.
Right.
The choice and quality of care is significantly better outside of prison.
Get your vasectomy done,
Yeah.
so you don't have any unwanted pregnancies while you're inside.
Certain treatments that you take for granted might not be available in prison or won't be nearly as good, like dental work.
Uh-huh.
If you wear glasses, you may want to have an eye test and get new lenses.
Oh, they smash glasses as soon as you walk into prison.
Is that
don't
true?
they? I think they just walk in there and it's all like, hey, 4 eyes. And it's just like the schoolyard, right?
I don't know.
Bring the maximum amount of money that you are allowed to take to prison. You may be allowed a certain amount of money, up to $500.
Okay.
This money will be used to buy supplies that you may need while incarcerated. You will need money for supplies such as stamps, envelopes, snacks, and also hygiene supplies.
Right.
Cash is not necessarily and will be confiscated. It's best to go in with a postal service money order, as they are widely accepted in all federal and state prisons.
Wait, so if you show up with $500 in cash, it will be confiscated and you won't get to spend it on any of those things. But if you bring like a money order or a cashier's check or whatever, then they'll put it into an account and hold on to it for you.
I guess so.
Why? That's an odd policy. Or I guess maybe it's not if you're the prison system and you just
Yeah.
want to take people's money.
Yeah. Additionally, don't let anyone know that you have money. Pretend that you're poor and penniless. That way there's no danger of other prisoners trying to extort money.
Got
from
it.
you. Get a daily newspaper subscription. This will help you keep you sane, and it's easier than reading a book.
Oh.
And keep you up to date on what's going on in the world outside. Yeah.
Get to know the chaplains. It doesn't matter if you're religious, and they don't care. Ask to have a chat with them for pastoral reasons soon after arriving.
I dibs on Charlie. I want to speak to
Charlie
Charlie
Chaplin.
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 Yeah,
Is he still in there?
yeah, yeah. No, I'd like listen. At least if you're going to talk to somebody like that every day, I mean, you might as well be entertained, right?
And he's got all that time doing silent films to make up for.
He's got all the Keystone Cops, right? You know, like
He embarrassed them so long, he's never getting
Yeah,
out.
they run around in circles. Walls start to fall down. You never know what might happen. Hijinks ensued.
They're good to talk to because your mind will be racing and they have seen it all before. But even more important, if you need help or a favor, they're a good place to start. They are no more able to break the rules than anyone else, but they seem to exercise common sense more than others are able.
Gotcha. Now, are the chaplains prisoners themselves, or are they employees of the prison system? Or?
I gotta think they're employees.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Don't trust anyone, Kevin.
I don't. I don't trust anyone in this room. I don't trust anyone in my life. I don't trust anyone.
true.
I'm training for my inevitable prison sentence.
Yep. Or as they say in Sylvester Stallone's lockup, DTA.
DTA. Don't trust anyone.
Don't trust anyone.
I thought it was like a Gran Turismo spinoff.
That goes for guards, other prison officials, and the person in the cell next door. If someone is being nice to you, ask yourself, what's in it for him or her? They almost always have some hidden motive that you don't know about. In prison, nothing is free. For example, if someone gives or loans you something, you will probably have to pay it back with a hefty rate of interest. If you can't pay, they may demand a favor that could get you in big trouble, like hiding contraband in your cell.
Got it.
Avoid showing emotions associated with weakness, including sadness. Do not cry.
Oh, yeah. I learned that in a lot of different Hollywood movies.
Yeah, don't cry.
Yeah, Hollywood has taught me that more than once.
Right. You cry and sad a lot, and they beat it out of you.
This will quickly make you a target for other prisoners. Also, along these same lines, do not urinate more than necessary. Not sure why that is. Not sure.
Maybe they mean outside of the bathroom.
Oh,
you should
don't
save it for the bathroom. Yeah,
don't urinate
your
in your pants any more than necessary.
Yeah.
Always be polite and respectful to guards and other prison employees.
Right.
If you give them a reason to hate you, they can make your life even harder than it already
But don't
is.
trust them.
But don't trust them.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
When you're walking to your cell, do not stare into other prisoners' cells. This is considered an invasion of privacy and can get you in big trouble.
Unless you want to invade their privacy. Unless they want the privacy invaded. Oh, how do you know? How do they signal you?
Consent, Kevin. Consent. Hey, can I look in your
But that's
in your
part of the
cell?
game, Joe. It's part of the game.
I know.
Do not get involved in gambling. This is a no-win situation. You either cannot afford to pay your gambling bills or you win and make the wrong people angry.
Right.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. You gamble with dice. You gamble with your life. That could be the slogan, the anti-gambling slogan that they put over the urinals.
Do not become a punk. Becoming a punk might give you some fleeting temporary protection from other inmates. You will be a slave to another inmate. Punks are used and abused. They are traded away in card games and sold for cigarettes. It is not a path to long-term survival in prison. If confronted to become a punk, fight and continue to fight. You will gain at least some measure of respect for fighting back.
Yeah.
Do not give in.
That's Shawshank right there. That's Andy Dufresne. That's the Andy Dufresne story. That's what Shawshank could have been called. The Andy Dufresne story, Don't Become a Punk.
Don't become a punk.
Yeah.
Don't be a snitch. People who tell tales to the guards or other prisoners are despised by everyone and can be physically attacked.
I did not realize that Harry Potter was so popular in prison.
Oh, the snitch is the thing in
golden
Quidditch.
snitch, yeah.
Right, yes. Well, the golden snitch was in prison for a while.
Oh, okay. Got out.
That's right.
And now snitches give stitches.
Now it's flying around, and all these wizards have to get on brooms and chase it down.
Yeah.
The best thing you can do in prison is to see everything, hear everything, and say nothing. If the guard asks you for information about some incident involving another prisoner, claim that you were looking the other way and didn't notice or hear anything. While this may irritate the staff on some level that you aren't willing to snitch, they will likely understand.
Right.
Avoid being seen talking to guards in a friendly way because other prisoners could assume wrongly that you're a snitch. Don't talk to prison staff any more than absolutely necessary because while it may be just innocent conversation about the weather, other inmates won't perceive it that way.
What if it's the prison talking staff, like the one that you have to hold in order to have the right to talk?
The staff?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
The talking staff.
That's right. Precisely.
You have the conch.
Yeah, if you want to talk at all, you have to hold the talking staff.
Yeah.
That's right.
The prison talking staff. Then you want to be friendly to that.
Shut up, warden. I got the staff now.
Yeah.
That's right. That's how it works. Keep your mouth shut about your personal life, family, or criminal history. Avoid revealing personal information. Do not discuss politics or personal feelings about anyone. In other words, don't put your business out on the street.
Prisoners constantly brag about what their
Don't
criminal
do it.
activities, but they always
don't do it.
But
But
then
don't.
why do all the prisoners do it?
Because they do dumb things.
Oh, okay.
If they didn't do dumb things, they probably wouldn't
Because
be in
they
prison.
didn't listen to this episode of Caustic Soap.
Oh, well, that was a big mistake of them.
Well, of course, I say do dumb things. In America, it barely matters.
That's right.
You go, oh, you look
could
the
just
wrong
have
way
a
at the wrong
slightly
person.
darker skin tone.
That's your third time looking at somebody the wrong way.
Be respectful and polite.
Wait, it said don't be nice to anybody. Don't be friendly.
Well,
You said don't be nice to the guards.
be respectful
Yeah.
and polite,
Polite.
to other prisoners.
Oh, that's a...
Respect.
I'm already getting confused.
I know it's a complicated
It's
situation.
a very complicated social dynamic here.
Respect is the only thing a prisoner has, and taking that away can be dangerous. Remember, if you give others your respect, they will most likely return the favor. You do not want to make enemies in prison.
Right.
Now I have a special section
Okay.
on being a prison guard's son by Chris Woods,
Ah.
friend of the podcast and former guestpert.
His dad was a prison guard?
His father was a prison guard.
Okay, all right.
And I asked him if he wanted to say something about it, and he wrote a few paragraphs, which I will now read.
All right.
Cool.
Okay.
I never thought too deeply about growing up the son of a prison guard. He had his fair share of anger and PTSD. That filtered down to my mom and I over the 14 years he did the job. I was used to it, but my sisters really noticed a huge decline in his general mood and demeanor. The prison system, ironically, robbed him of his positive, loving human qualities. It came back a bit when he retired.
Got it.
The biggest effect on me, I think, was imprinting on his nihilistic and bleak outlook on life. His favorite saying was, "Life's a bitch and then you die." He felt his whole life was a waste and he was just running out the clock. He occasionally saw cons on the street once they had been released and found this upsetting.
Right.
One of the reasons he hated the fact that I had long hair and didn't shave every day was because it made me look like an inmate.
I thought they made inmates shave and do all that sort of stuff. Or maybe that's like kind of a bygone era. The old making inmates shave and cut their hair and stuff.
There was a decade or so in the 80s and 90s where I felt like one.
Oh.
An inmate. He was never physically abusive, but it was a definite big brother is watching situation. Luckily, he wasn't a drinker or drug user. He could sure be menacing and cut you down with a look or a single word. His negative worldview is something I think I am only just now starting to abandon. I think about the strength it must have taken for him to willingly go to a prison and stay there for 12 hours at a stretch, locked in with all the cons. How he did it is still a mystery to me. He was a pretty smart guy, and the military and then corrections drained any self-confidence he may have had. Why we still maintain such an outmoded and barbaric system is baffling.
Politics all of a sudden goes all political. It was all personal experience, but now he's throwing down on, oh man, let's put everybody in a commune and peace and love and all that stuff. Chris Woods, you hippie.
Yeah, that's what I think of.
Yeah.
When I think of Chris Woods.
Yeah.
Well, he did have long hair.
Hippie. He paints for a living, for God's sakes.
It turns the warders into monsters, too. That's his last line.
Okay.
This is from crack.com.
Well, I like that site. They do funny things.
Excellent. I love them a lot.
It's like the entertaining BuzzFeed.
Yeah, exactly. The entertaining gets things right BuzzFeed. We love you, crack.com. Cedric Coleman spent 7 years as a prison guard in 2 different U.S. states. He learned the cruel guards don't last. You know how every prison movie has that guard who's just a sadist?
Yeah.
There was Captain Hadley in The Shawshank Redemption and Percy Wetmore in The Green Mile.
Yep.
The guards have absolute power, so why not torture the inmates at every opportunity? In real life, that doesn't end well. We had one lieutenant come in and treat the inmates like dirt, calling them names and acting like the hard-ass guards from the movies.
Yeah.
What he didn't account for is how much time you have to spend alone with these guys. One day, he went to investigate a fight between 2 inmates, but it turned out to be a diversion. 2 other inmates came up from behind him and ambushed him. He was stabbed 61 times before he could signal the officer in the control room to open the door and let him in.
61 times.
61, yeah.
Was that like
That's
61 inmates each stabbing him, taking turns?
Oh, wow. That would be...
2 inmates. So that's 30 by one and 31 by the other, I guess, if they even it out.
30 and a half.
Yeah,
times
30 and a
each.
half. Yeah, the last one they did together.
Or...
Both had their hand on the
Maybe
shank.
they were just doing their acupuncture training, and we're trying to like chill him out. They're like, he's so uptight,
so
and
tense. He needs
That's right.
He needs
some traditional Chinese medicine.
Chinese medicine. I think this will really. He's not going to volunteer for it because he doesn't like us obviously very much. So we need to bring him down here in order to
realign his chi.
to feng shui his circulatory system.
Yep.
He survived, but he's not exactly running marathons these days. There's a side note saying it's actually pretty hard to stab someone to death. There's nothing to be gained by antagonizing a pissed-off lifer who has no problem twisting knives in you and spitting or rubbing shit in your wounds. You know those prison stabbing scenes in Breaking Bad? That was years of violence shoved into a montage, but it looked just about right. Our job isn't to punish these guys. The prison is their punishment. You might feel like a badass in uniform, but that felon with the makeshift knife is the real badass. See, that's why he's in prison. Also, there's no method to the madness. You probably assume that prison is ordered a little like Dante's Hell and inmates wind up on different levels based on the severity of their crime. Nope.
That doesn't happen?
No.
Oh.
If you make it into a federal prison for a nonviolent drug charge, you might wind up cellmates with a serial rapist.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is the Oz experience. This is what we learned from the TV show Oz.
Oh, okay. I haven't watched that one.
Oh, really?
No. I hear it's great, yeah.
Very good. It was the introduction to J.K. Simmons.
Okay.
What was his role?
He played a neo-Nazi.
Oh, okay.
He was the leader of the neo-Nazis.
This was before he was J. Jonah Jameson.
Long before. This was his big breakthrough role. And the main character, played by a guy named Lee Turgison, he played an accountant who was convicted of vehicular manslaughter because he got drunk and ran over a little kid. So he was a lifelong accountant, but got sent to federal prison.
Yeah.
and to one of those isolation units where everybody was super violent, and he became J. Jonah Jameson's bitch. He was a punk,
right?
And then, like in season 3, he went crazy and he gouged out J.K. Simmons' eye.
Yeah.
It was a very intense show, but this is the exact.
As a private prison, we were only supposed to get inmates up to a medium level of severity. We had a point system, and once they got above a certain number, we had to send them to the state. My job for a while was to do that paperwork, and guess what? The state would fiddle with the numbers all the time in order to dump the inmates on us. I'd go into their records and add up their infractions and realize that these guys were much more dangerous than the state had said. Whenever we wound up with someone who was way too violent for our prison, the state would wait forever to take him back. That means that prison, like America, is a great melting pot. But instead
The great American melting pot.
So you can take all the not so bad prisoners and you can make them horrible people.
That's right. So you're kind of a bad person, meet all these other terrible people who will tell you how to be absolutely awful. Yeah. But instead of being a place for people of all nations, faiths, and creeds to live together, it's a place where kids who made one dumb mistake hang out with career criminals. There's a reason our recidivism rate is so very high. Prison is crime college.
Ooh, crime college.
Yeah.
As opposed to clown college. But they're right next door to each other.
Yeah.
So every once in a while you get the wires mixed up. You go show up for clown college, you end up in crime college.
I had a 19-year-old kid in there who went on a joyride in his grandma's car. She called the police, hoping they'd just put him in jail overnight to scare him.
Right.
But the DA decided to make an example out of him and charge the kid with car theft. Now he's in prison, learning to steal cars for real.
Yay. Well, should we get the prison rape section out of the way so we can enjoy the rest of our episode?
Sure.
Enjoy.
In 1980, Louisiana prison newspaper editor Wilbert Rideau won national journalism accolades for an essay called The Sexual Jungle, in which he wrote that rape in prison is rarely a sexual act, but one of violence, politics, and an acting out of power roles.
Right.
Yeah.
Being raped or turned out redefines the male victim as a female in this subculture, and he must assume that role as the property of his conqueror or whomever claimed him. He becomes a slave in the full sense of the term. Around 80,000 women and men, a large percentage are homosexual and youth inmates, a year, are sexually abused in American correctional facilities. That number is almost certainly subject to underreporting. In an effort to thwart this problem, Congress passed the Prison Rape Elimination Act, PREA.
Is that they named the electric car after prison rape?
Yeah, didn't you know that?
That's the plural though, Prius, right?
Yeah. Because they make more than one of those electric cars,
of course.
right? So obviously. Wow, I had no idea there was such a linkage.
To celebrate the end of prison rape, because they eliminated it, right, with this act.
This law would make funding for correctional facilities conditional on their state's adoption of zero-tolerance policies of sexual abuse of inmates. Policies such as screening inmates to identify them as either predators or victims, prison procedures...
That's helpful. Because then what do? You put them in different sections, and then one of the wolves gets in with the sheep?
Well, that's what you do, is you keep the predators away from the victims.
Yeah, until one pretends to be a victim, and then it's one predator and a whole lot of victims.
Oh, okay.
A wolf in sheep's clothing?
And then those sheep beat the fuck out of that wolf, right? Because there's a whole bunch of them.
Man.
Prison procedures would ensure investigation of complaints by outside law enforcement. Correctional officers would be instructed about behavior that constitutes sexual abuse. And abusers, whether inmates or guards, would be punished effectively. After PREA passed in 2003, the Commission announced it would obtain data on prison rape, write a report, and recommend a set of policy proposals after 2 years.
Okay.
2 years.
2003. So policy in 2005.
The report was released after 6 years due to the complexity and scope of the problem.
Okay.
The next stop was the Department of Justice, which spent 3 years deliberating over the law and translating its recommendations into final standards.
But so that was after the 6 years, or that was in conjunction with the 6 years?
After.
Oh, so now we're 9 years when it was supposed to be 2 years.
The department added a requirement that inmates under 18 could not be placed in a housing unit where they would have sight, sound, or physical contact with any adult inmate through use of a shared day room or other common space, shower area, or sleeping quarters.
All right.
And called for direct staff supervision in instances where contact could not be avoided.
Inmates under 18, this is getting down to the problem of why are you putting children into grown-up prisons?
Because you're trying 16 and 17-year-olds as adults more and more often.
Right, which is dumb.
Adoption of the guidelines they produced has been painfully slow, resting on the competence and dedication of particular employees.
Yeah.
Out of 50 states, only 2 have adhered to the policies of PREA, New Hampshire and New Jersey.
But no, You read that wrong. 2 have not adhered to the policies yet. No. 2 have not adhered. 48 have adhered. You got it backwards.
Opposite, Kevin. Opposite.
What?
47 states and territories have promised that they will in time.
In time?
We'll do it later.
Yeah.
Why?
Later.
Why in time? I don't
One
understand.
state refusing to comply.
Can I know which states are complying? Because
New Hampshire and New Jersey.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm only getting arrested in New
That's
Hampshire
right.
and New
If you're
Jersey.
going to do crimes,
Yeah.
that's the place.
Well, New Jersey has a lot of crime. I understand. I watched The Sopranos after all.
One state refusing to comply is Texas. Then Governor Rick Perry argued that the mandated measures would levy an unacceptable cost to Texans.
Look, we'd like to end people getting raped, but it's going to cost us.
For its non-compliance, Texas is likely to lose just 5% of federal funding for its state prisons, $800,000, but will still receive $15.2 million in federal grants.
Well, what are you going to do? Like, take all their money away so everything gets worse? Yeah,
Ultimately, prisons protect rape culture to protect themselves.
Right.
According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, about half of prison sexual assaults complaints in 2011 were filed against staff.
Holy crap.
These reports weren't all claims of forcible rape. It is considered statutory sexual assault for a guard to have sexual contact with an inmate.
Because you've got, like, you hold authority over a person.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, you are in a position of authority and you can make people's lives very difficult.
There's no way that you can know that somebody's truly consenting to a guard.
Yeah.
Because they could be just terrified.
Well, unless you're another guard.
But I don't think that's called prison rape. That's just called fucking on the job.
That's fucking in a prison.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Unless that's the setup. Unless it's a, it's a role play situation.
Oh, I see. Now you play the prisoner?
Yeah.
PREA commissioners agree that the law itself is only a starting point for larger cultural change.
Right.
The personality of the warden is an important factor in whether PREA is taken seriously, and that means implementation can vary widely from place to place, even if the policies remain constant.
Did you just say personality of the warden?
Yep.
You'd think personalities wouldn't play into a far-reaching policy.
You're living in a fantasy world, Kevin.
Yeah, I think not you wouldn't think. I think it's you would hope. You would
Yeah.
hope. You would
would
hope that would be the way
I
it
hope
is.
that personalities would have nothing to do with it. That, that there's some warden out there having a good old howl about, they're trying to stop prison rape.
Can you believe it?
Compliance does not even cost that much. The Justice Department estimates that full nationwide compliance would cost less than 1% of states' spending on corrections. Mm-hmm. Putting aside the cruelty and pain inflicted, prison rape costs far more than the implementation of the law designed to stop it. The Justice Department estimates that the total bill to society for prison rape and sexual abuse is as high as $51.9 billion a year,
Right.
including the costs of victims' compensation and increased reoffenses.
Yeah.
And butthole reconstruction.
And butthole reconstruction.
Of course, all these people claiming it would cost too much to solve it don't actually look at these numbers. They're completely unconcerned with reality.
Yeah, it's pretty much accepted in a lot of different countries that actually stopping people from committing crimes is far more effective and cheap in the long run than just imprisoning everybody who commits a crime. But America hasn't really gotten on that train yet. So it's not that much surprising unless somebody's pulling a train in a prison rape.
America's policies all seem to be based on anger.
Yeah.
Those guys are prisoners. Fuck them. No, really, if you want to, go ahead and fuck them.
Yeah. But the irony is the prisoners are doing a lot of the fucking too.
Yeah, well,
So there are some prisoners who are enjoying it.
So they're angry and lazy.
Scales of justice.
They're angry and lazy, getting other people to do their dirty work for them.
I wouldn't touch you with that other prisoner's dick. Oh, wait, I will.
I would only touch you with that other prisoner's dick, and I'm going to put you into a situation where that's going to happen.
If states refuse to implement the law when the fiscal benefit is so obvious, something larger is at stake.
I guess the question is, why is Rick Perry pro-rape?
It's a good question. He's running for president right now, Joe. You should get out there and ask him.
I would like somebody to ask him. So, according to all these numbers, you were totally wrong about this, and you basically have no excuse to not end prison rape except that you're pro-rape. So why are you pro-rape?
And here's what he'll do. He will adjust his glasses because he wears them now.
I'm smart now.
Right? And he'll go,
Well, you're just going to have to take a look at those numbers. Oh, I've got them right here.
I got
the internet.
I got 3 reasons why I'm pro-rape. Butthole reconstruction.
He's got a friend who sells butthole reconstruction.
EPA.
The Environmental Protection Agency.
I can't remember the third one. Whoops.
Oh, you're right. That was him. Yeah.
I have 3 accounts of rape and rape facilitation in prison.
Oh, and these are all three. These are the three that have happened, right? This is 100% of all the stories.
One young prisoner reported that officers had threatened to facilitate his rape if he complained of poor treatment.
And by that he meant treating him like a poor person.
Oh, poor treatment.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have any money. Well, he doesn't have any money.
Mm-hmm. Listen, in the public service announcement, we told he's not supposed to tell anybody he has any money.
So if he's got money or not, they don't think he's got money.
Oh, catch-22.
Another had been given misconduct tickets after refusing to leave solitary confinement.
I love that band.
Misconduct tickets?
Yeah, I love that band.
Misconduct.
Oh, misconduct.
Tickets to see misconduct?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, great burlesque show.
Misconduct. Little misconduct.
It's a roller derby show.
Another had been given misconduct tickets after refusing to leave solitary confinement out of fear of being raped. He said he spent an hour of recreation alone each week in an enclosed cage while older inmates stuck their penises through the bars, threatening to hurt him if he didn't perform oral sex. Like many of the young men, this one had attempted suicide.
I guess solitary. He refused to leave solitary confinement.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be a place you're not supposed to want to go.
Well, at least you can't get raped when you're in solitary confinement because there's nobody else in there with you.
Right.
Yeah.
In May 2000...
Oh, we got guards, of course. There's always guards.
There's always guards. In May 2013, a correctional officer made an announcement on the prison-wide intercom reminding an inmate to take his HIV medication. The inmate, who is not HIV positive, filed a grievance, arguing that such a false claim would brand him as a homosexual and put him at risk of attack. His grievance was denied.
Well,
what? Why would what? Like over a loudspeaker?
Yeah, like as a punishment.
Oh, or a joke?
Yeah.
They thought it was
Kevin?
Or maybe a joke.
attention, Kevin Leeson, inmate Kevin Leeson, please come to the commissary to get your HIV medication. And you're surrounded by all your buddies. In the history, 16th and 17th centuries, thanks to Corey for this research.
Yay!
Prison tended to be a place where people were held before their trial or while awaiting punishment. It was very rarely used as a punishment in its own right. Men and women, boys and girls, debtors and murderers were all held together in local prisons.
Right.
Evidence suggests that the prisons of this period were badly maintained and often controlled by negligent prison warders.
Oh, surprise, surprise. Knock me over with a feather.
Yeah. Many people died of diseases like jail fever, which is a form of typhus.
Yeah, we talked about this before.
Jail
We
fever.
did, yeah.
I think we must have talked about this in POWs.
Might have been, or could it have been a bacteria? I can't remember. Let us know.
We did talk about Gale fever.
Yeah.
Gale fever. Gale. Of a gale time.
It is spelled Gale. The most important innovation of this period was the building of the prototype House of Correction, the London Bridewell.
Oh, it sounds like they must have had weddings there. Oh, on Saturdays we have weddings. On Sundays we have trials.
It's where you dump all the brides that don't live down the Bridewell.
Throw down the Bridewell.
Oh, God.
Didn't make it. This kind of stinks. Hold your nose when you go there to the Bridewell.
Houses of
And don't get your water out of the Bridewell, people.
man.
Do not stop getting
draw
your drinking water
out of the Bridewell.
Houses of correction were originally part of the machinery of the poor law, intended to instill habits of industry through prison labor. Most of those held in them were petty offenders, vagrants, and the disorderly local poor.
Right. Vagrants.
Although the 18th century has been characterized as the era of the bloody code, called back to bad laws,
Yep.
there was growing opposition to the death penalty for all but the most serious crimes. Such severe punishment was counterproductive, as jurors were refusing to find thieves guilty of offenses which would lead to their execution.
Right.
So basically, because they know that for stealing they would get killed, they'd be like, "No, I'm not going to say he's guilty because you're going to kill him."
Yeah.
So they wouldn't get any punishment. So they just go steal again.
Yeah.
By the mid-18th century, imprisonment with hard labor was beginning to be seen as a suitable sanction for petty offenders.
Got it.
Prison hulks.
Oh,
Yeah.
The Prison Hulk smash. Prison Hulk smash rocks.
Prison hulk is most prisoner one there is.
Yeah, I bet. You know what? Prison Hulk was the gray one for sure.
That's right.
Oh,
Yeah.
With stripes, black and white stripes.
Yeah. He was
Prison hulks were ships which were anchored in the Thames and at Portsmouth and Plymouth. Those sent to them were employed in hard labor during the day and then loaded in chains onto the ship at night.
Right.
The appalling conditions on the hulks, especially the lack of control and poor physical conditions, eventually led to the end of this practice. But the use of prison hulks did much to persuade public opinion that incarceration with hard labor was a viable penalty for crime.
So basically, they just they put them on ships because then it was kind of a built-in moat.
I guess they just probably had ships.
Yeah.
They're like, we need a building. well, we got these big ships we're not using. Why don't you
Ships are a lot easier than giant stone buildings to like sort of,
and to put where you need them.
turn into prisons.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you could just like go,
Sail
especially
it to where you
England,
need it.
everything's within like 5 minutes of the coast, right?
Yeah.
Just like sail it on up. We need more hulks in Manchester.
Yep.
They're a bit uppity up there right now.
And you could tell the people, it's safe. They're on the ship. Where would they go at night? They'd have to jump off and drown in the middle of the,
The separate system was a contrast to the former one-room jails. Penitentiaries, the name derived from penance, built for the separate system, were designed to keep each prisoner separated and unable to speak with each other.
Okay.
In an effort to provoke penance through their silent reflection.
Oh, this is like the
Go stand in the corner and think about what you've done.
Yeah, this is the state's version of go to your room and think about what you've done without dinner.
In 1829, the first prison built according to the separate system was the Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Features of the design included an intentional foreboding exterior in hope citizens would avoid committing crime to avoid being sent to the penitentiary.
right.
Halls that were designed to have the feel of a church.
So foreboding exterior, church-like interior. What if some of us find churches' exteriors foreboding as well?
Oh, yeah.
When they just make everything look like a church?
Some of them are meant to be, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
So they accidentally get people showing up on Sunday.
Small metal doors that were covered by a heavy wooden door to filter out noise.
Okay.
The small doors forced the prisoners to bow while entering their cell.
Okay.
This design is related to penance and ties to the religious inspiration.
Oh,
of the
so
prison.
like you were being forced to sort of lower your
Penitent man will
head.
pass. The penitent man will pass.
Oh yeah. all right.
The penitent man will get out of prison because you got to bow.
The cells were made of concrete with a single glass skylight representing the eye of God,
Oh.
suggesting to the prisoners that God was always watching them.
So, well, at least they got a skylight.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Some
had
natural light.
actual sunlight. You kept your vitamin D up while you were in prison.
Outside the cell was an individual area for exercise, enclosed by high walls so prisoners could not communicate. Exercise time for each prisoner was synchronized, so no two prisoners next to each other would be out at the same time.
This is all like very philosophically thought out. Like this is, everything sort of had a subtext.
It still feels kind of cruel, like the keeping them so solitary and quiet all the time.
cruel. It feels very cruel.
But I mean, compared to execution and hard labor, which were the previous things that they would do, now they're not making you do hard labor, but they're making you shut up and think about what you did on your own, which is also bad. But
No prison rape.
but yeah, lesser two evils.
0% prison rape.
Lesser two evils. I'm taking this for sure. For sure.
The design of these penal institutions drew heavily on monastic solitary confinement to both destroy the identity of the inmate and thus
Yeah.
make him easier to control, and to crush the criminal subculture that flourished in densely populated prisons.
Right. No teaching kids who stole one car how to steal all cars. Yeah.
Right.
Prisoners incarcerated in separate system prisons were reduced to numbers, their names, faces, and past histories eliminated. The guards and warders charged with overseeing these prisoners knew neither their names nor their crimes and were prohibited from speaking to them. Prisoners were hooded upon exiting a cell and even wore felted shoes to muffle their footsteps.
So I kind of want a pair of felt shoes now.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
The result was a dumb obedience and a passive disorientation that shattered the criminal community, quote unquote.
Right.
The penitentiary was intended not simply to punish, but to move the criminal towards spiritual reflection and change.
Right.
Proponents of the system believed that criminals, exposed in silence to thoughts of their behavior and the ugliness of their crimes, would become genuinely penitent.
At the basis of this theory, it's kind of hopeful. There's a good person inside everybody.
Yeah.
And if you force them to think about what they've done in a prison scenario, you will inevitably gravitate back towards the good person that is inside everyone. It's kind of the undercurrent of this whole thing.
There's the core of a decent idea in here.
Yeah.
For sure.
In reality,
Okay. So execution didn't necessarily turn out as planned. Wait, communism is the perfect system, right? This prison is the ideal prison scenario.
the guards and counselors of the facility designed a variety of physical and psychological torture regimens for various infractions,
What? Why?
including,
But that flies in the face of the theory behind the entire thing.
in reality, Kevin, in reality.
But the theory is all theory,
Hey,
theoretically.
Okay, if you love the theory and ignore the reality, you're Rick Perry.
Whoops.
Take that, Kevin Leeson.
Yeah.
Dousing prisoners in freezing water outside during winter months.
Huh?
Strapping prisoners into chairs and with tight leather restraints for days on end.
But wouldn't it just be easier to put on their velvet shoes and stick hoods on them, than doing all these other things? Okay, all right.
Implementing the iron gag, a 5-inch piece of metal that fit over the inmate's tongue that was connected by chain to the inmate's cuffed wrists behind him. If the inmate fought the device and pulled with his arms, the gag was forced deeper into his mouth. There's a picture of this we can put on causticsodapodcast.com.
But this is like more work. Like, this is more work than would be necessary. I mean, maybe they just got bored. Maybe they all just got bored of because the guards weren't allowed to talk to anybody either.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Maybe they just were like, we got to spice this up. We got to, the iron gag is horrible.
Yeah.
No,
it's not the iron joke.
No.
Not that kind of a gag.
When you hear their hands are behind their back, they don't mean, down at their waist like you would stand and put your hands and hold them together. They are back up across the back.
Like between the shoulder blades.
Between the shoulder blades crossed, and that is tied directly up to this thing around their
Which is
mouth
on a
and throat.
very, very short leash.
Yeah, that's brutal.
The worst behaved prisoners were placed into an underground cell block for 2 weeks at a time. Mm-hmm. There they would see no light, nor have any human contact. This was known as the hole.
No sunlight, no eye of God.
No eye of God. The 19th century saw the birth of the state prison. In 1842, Pentonville Prison was built using the panopticon design.
Okay.
This prison is still used today. Mm-hmm. Prison was seen primarily as a means to deter offending and reoffending. Mm-hmm. The Criminal Justice Act of 1948 abolished penal servitude, hard labor, and flogging.
Oh, okay. All right.
It also presented a comprehensive system for the punishment and treatment of offenders. Prison was still at the center of the system, but the institutions took many different forms.
Right.
The 1990s have also seen the introduction of prisons which are designed, financed, built, and run by private companies.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Supporters of privatization argued that it will lead to cheaper, more innovative prisons, while organizations like the Howard League argue that private prisons are flawed both in principle and practice.
Oh, man.
Yes.
So flawed.
Well, like that judge that was arrested and convicted of giving people longer sentences in exchange for kickbacks from the private prison that profited from it.
Your civilization should not profit from putting its citizens in prison. It should cost you.
Experience dictates otherwise, Joe.
Yeah. Oh, America's prison system is great.
Dictates otherwise.
There are no problems with their private prisons.
There is a precedent.
A for-profit prison is a place in which individuals are physically confined or incarcerated by a third party that is contracted by the government agency.
Got it.
Private prison companies typically enter into contractual agreements with governments that commit prisoners and then pay a per diem or monthly rate for each prisoner in the facility.
And by contracted, you mean kind of like herpes or AIDS.
That's right.
Right.
The privatization of prisons refers both to the takeover of existing public facilities as well as the building and operation of new and additional prisons by for-profit companies.
Got it.
Remember Cedric Coleman?
Yes.
From the previous section. Mm-hmm. He says, I worked in prisons owned by CCA, the Correctional Corporation of America.
Right.
You'd think private prisons would have more money, nicer gear, and other benefits.
No, I wouldn't.
I really do like their music, though.
CCA?
Yeah.
CCA.
Yeah. Proud Mary keeps on jailing.
I see a bad prison rising.
That's right. I would see a bad prison rioting.
But CCA was all about cutting corners. They didn't even issue each man a personal radio, which should be a requirement in any office where being shanked is a daily concern.
Yes.
Yeah, well, because they are for profit, and anything that they spend cuts into the profit.
That's exactly it. Like, they do everything that the non-for-profit does, except they also have to make a profit.
Yeah.
That can't be cheaper.
No, it will inevitably cheaper. It can't be better.
Right.
Okay, yeah, fair.
Instead, the radios stayed at our stations, safely out of reach of anyone who might need them. Oh, and they paid us less than state prison guards,
Of course.
too.
Of course.
And then there's the Kids for Cash scandal. Is that what you're talking about?
That is exactly
That's
what I'm
the
talking
one.
about.
Unfolded in 2008 over judicial kickbacks at the Luzerne County Court of Common Pleas in Pennsylvania. Two judges, President Judge Mark Chiavarella and Senior Judge Michael Conahan,
Let's just call them asshole and dickweed.
asshole and dickweed,
Yeah.
were accused of accepting money from Robert Miracle, builder of two private for-profit youth centers for the detention of juveniles. In return for contracting with the facilities and imposing harsh adjudications on juveniles brought before their courts to increase the number of residents in the centers. For example, Asshole, was it Asshole?
Yes.
Asshole adjudicated children to extended stays in youth centers for offenses as minimal as mocking a principal on MySpace,
Yes.
trespassing in a vacant building, or shoplifting DVDs from Walmart. Really, Walmart. They should have everything shoplifted from them.
Yeah. Whereas Judge Dickweed was guilty of...
Asshole and Dickweed pled guilty pursuant to a plea agreement to federal charges of fraud and conspiracy. in connection with receiving $2.6 million in payments from managers at PA Childcare and its sister company, Western PA Childcare. A federal grand jury in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, returned a 48-count indictment against Asshole and Dickweed, including racketeering, fraud, money laundering, extortion, bribery, and federal tax violations in 2009.
Yeah, you know what? I bet you they got caught because they put their kickbacks on their tax forms. Right? They were like, yeah, I got a $2.6 million in kickbacks. I need to pay some tax. Don't want to get caught for tax evasion.
No.
Dickweed was sentenced to 17 and a half years in federal prison. Asshole was convicted on 12 of the 39 counts he faced and is sentenced to 28 years in a federal prison.
They're now appealing and have served no time.
I don't know about that. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court ordered an investigation of the cases handled by the judges, and following its outcome, overturned several hundred adjudications of delinquency.
Wow.
Nice.
As many as 6,000 young people were affected by being denied their basic rights to counsel and receiving outrageously excessive sentences.
And now probably some pretty big money payoffs.
Yeah,
in order to get them to not sue for the money they're probably owed.
That this private enterprise that was paying kickbacks is going to get sued into oblivion.
Well, they'll probably just find a scapegoat and say, it was all this one guy. It's not our standard practice to do this. He's been fired.
Yeah.
We've put procedures in place so this won't happen again.
For God's
Blah,
sakes.
blah, 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 blah.
When a for-profit prison,
Yeah.
Gets sued in a class action lawsuit and loses hundreds of millions of dollars, that's when they learn lessons.
Yeah.
That's how you teach a for-profit ... a lesson. Yeah. You take away money.
But
We are not going to pay judges kickbacks anymore for longer sentences because in the long run, it will cost us more.
Their lesson they're going to
Because they
be
don't give a
is,
shit about the juveniles who are actually in the facility.
Their lesson's going to be don't get caught. Let's
Not
face
always.
it.
Not always. Sometimes,
I'm not saying
yes,
they're all bad people.
But not always.
I'm going to say most of them are decent people. But there's enough dickweeds in there that are going to be like, oh, man, if we do that, we better not get caught.
You know what? I got a better idea. How about we just find judges that don't take kickbacks for longer sentences for juveniles?
Doesn't sound possible.
Let's start with that, and then no one can pay a judge if you take away all the judges that would take a kickback.
How do we find those? Do we offer kickbacks to all the judges?
That's right.
What if we just got rid of
That's
money?
as soon as you're about to appoint them, you're like, kickback? And they go, no, thank you. Like, you're in.
What if we just got rid of money?
Oh, the Star Trek.
Gene Roddenberry's dream.
Okay.
The Star Trek solution.
Yeah.
That's right. You only become a prison warden because that's what you want to do with your life.
That's right.
How come everything, Torrin, comes back to Star Trek? How does that happen?
Because Star Trek is the bright and wonderful future that we all hope for.
Except for Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
I blame the fucking Kardashians for that. And I mean Kim and Chloe and all of them. It's somehow their fault.
Yeah.
The Stanford Prison Experiment.
A study of the psychological effects of becoming a prisoner or prison guard, the Stanford Prison Experiment was conducted at Stanford University from August 14th to 20th, 1971, by a team of researchers led by psychology professor Philip Zimbardo.
The amazing Zimbardo!
I was thinking more like, who ran Bartertown? We start Zimbardo.
Oh, God. Not a lot of Thunderdome references in the course of the recording, typically.
2 prisoners enter, 1 prisoner leaves.
The Stanford Prison Experiment was funded by the U.S. Office of Naval Research as an investigation of the causes of conflict between military guards and prisoners.
I did some naval research earlier. This morning, I found a bunch of fluff in there.
Oh, a little lint. A little lint. They're typically about lint. They only diverge from their lint experiments to get into prison.
Sure. Okay.
Conflicts between guards and prisoners.
Well, there's a lot of navel gazing in prisons.
Oh, that is true. This experiment is a classic study on the psychology of imprisonment. The results of the experiment have been argued to demonstrate the impressionability and obedience of people when provided with legitimizing ideology and a social and institutional support. 24 male students out of 75 were selected to take on randomly assigned roles of prisoners and guards in a mock prison situated in the basement of the Stanford Psychology Building for a period of 7 to 14 days. Participants adapted to their roles well beyond expectations as the guards enforced authoritarian measures and ultimately subjected some of the prisoners to psychological torture. Many of the prisoners passively accepted psychological abuse and, at the request of the guards, readily harassed other prisoners who attempted to prevent it.
Oh.
The experiment even affected Zimbardo himself, who in his role as superintendent permitted the abuse to continue.
Yeah, this is pretty unethical. This is unethical.
Is it, Joe?
Yeah.
Is
Yes.
it?
Yes.
It's only unethical now because we've done it.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to actually do an unethical thing for it to be unethical.
Yeah.
I
We
can't
didn't
argue
realize-
with you there,
We
Kevin.
did not realize this was unethical before we started.
That whole thinking about it, that was actually kind of ethical. Then when you did it, that was fine. That's
Two of
not
the
good.
prisoners quit the experiment early, and the entire experiment was abruptly stopped after only 6 days, to an extent because of the objections of social psychologist Christina Maslach. After Maslach confronted Zimbardo and forced him to realize he'd been passively allowing unethical acts to be performed under his supervision, Zimbardo concluded that both prisoners and guards had become grossly absorbed in their roles and realized that he had likewise become as grossly absorbed in his own, and he terminated the experiment. Because of the nature and the questionable ethics of the experiment, Zimbardo found it impossible to keep traditional scientific controls in place. Indeed, the scientific validity of the experiment is widely questioned with regards to selection bias and a low sample size.
Right.
Certain
Okay.
portions of the experiment were filmed, and excerpts of footage are publicly available.
Okay.
We
So
should-
it's basically like, hey, all you students, let's have a fun time pretending we're in prison.
And we'll glean some information about interactions between guards and prisoners, and it rapidly devolved into a Lord of the Flies situation.
Seems to be that way.
It's like if there had been a piggy, this piggy would have been butt raped. If they'd gone the full 14 days, who knows what might have happened.
There is a Stanford Prison Experiment movie coming out.
Yes, coming up very shortly.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, it actually has a really incredible cast.
Tell me more.
I've heard about this. This has been doing the festival circuit and has actually been, getting a lot of attention.
Well, I can't wait to watch it.
Yep.
Let's all go together.
Caustic Soda movie night.
And then we'll perform the experiment.
Oh, what?
I will be the guard.
Okay.
Called it. Shotgun.
All right. I will bring my own shank.
Oh,
I will play Christina Maslach and will tell you that what you're doing is wrong.
damn you.
Hey, you guys. You Caustic Soda guys. It's me, your favoriteest fan, Phil.
Howdy, Phil.
I don't know how I got in the studio, but I wanted to know how I could support you guys. You guys should have all of my money, or a portion thereof.
Well, Phil, you can head on over to patreon.com/caustic soda and support us with as little or as much money per episode as you'd like.
How does that work?
It's pretty simple. You go to Patreon, sign up, and then at our Patreon page, you declare how much you would like to give us for every single podcast we make. That can be $1, $5, 25 cents, whatever you'd like. And at the end of the month, Patreon charges you and sends us the money.
Oh, it's a per podcast expense. All right.
And you can change it and modify it in any way, shape, or form you please as it goes on. If you like one episode, you can donate more. If you don't like an episode, you can donate less.
Oh, I love them all equally. I can't decide.
Perfect. Give us all your money.
Okay, here it is. Tap it, tap, tap it, tap it.
Patreon off? No, Patreon.
Now let us talk about some specific prisons. For example,
Okay.
Rikers Island, New York, New York.
Owned by a guy named Riker. He opened a private prison.
William T.
Oh.
Riker from Star Trek.
Yeah, owned by the Star Trek guy.
Yeah.
That's how they made their money. They got into spaceships much later.
Gold Press Platinum. The famous island has 10 jails that hold an average of 12,000 inmates daily, with the room to lock down 17,000.
Okay.
For those arrested in New York City, Rikers Island is the last stop before the state penitentiary. Rikers has a long list of assaults, rapes, and murders by the prison guards, as well as other inmates.
Oh.
Like they have a list? Like you go there and there's a list?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here it is. Have your choice.
It's long.
It's kind of Rikers Prison's version of Fuck, Marry, Kill.
Assault, rape, or murder.
Yeah.
And then you get to choose prison guard or other prisoner.
I
right?
see, I see.
Total options.
A guard-sanctioned fight club provides entertainment, pitting inmate against inmate.
Okay.
Despite 2 guards becoming state prison inmates over the fights, former inmates report it hasn't stopped.
Oh, okay.
The guards have been cited dozens of times in just the past decade for excessive force. Federal investigations into the reports filed by guards revealed some falsified records to
Okay.
cover up abuse, leaving exact numbers difficult to determine.
Because the people who are in charge of reporting the abuses are the people doing the abuses, so the reporting is underreported. Surprise, surprise.
Because
This is like when I was 8 years old, and my mom asked me who ate the dessert that was in the fridge, and I said, I don't know. But I knew exactly who did it.
It was Mike.
This guy right here.
Oh, I thought it was Mike.
Yeah.
Because of the prison's history of violence, it is now one of the strictest prisons in the world. Several reform actions at the prison have helped reduce the number of stabbings a year down from 1,000 to 70.
Well, that is a major reduction.
It still seems like a lot.
It still seems like 70. Well, but although 70 stabbings is one stabbing every 5 days.
Yeah.
Huh?
One a week, and they take off weekends.
1,000 was 3 a day.
Do they happen on Mondays?
3 a day.
Yeah.
That's why Garfield doesn't like Mondays.
Because that's when he stabs somebody in prison.
No, that's when he got stabbed in prison.
He gets stabbed. Yeah. Diyarbakir Prison, Turkey.
Okay.
Turkey's.
It's good there at Thanksgiving.
That's right. You're well fed there. Let's get that joke out of the way. Turkey's maximum security prison opened in 1980. It's known for incarcerating children for lifelong sentences.
Oh, that's not something to be known for.
No, no, it's not. Today, over 350 boys and girls aged 13 to 17 are serving sentences in Turkey's prisons, including Diyarbakir. Diyarbakir Type D prison is specifically for political prisoners and has the capacity of 688 prisoners, but in 1996 it was found to be holding well over 900.
Okay.
The period dating between 1981 and 1984 is known as the Period of Barbarity. And refers to the systematic torture administered which cost multiple prisoners their lives.
Oh, okay.
Since its opening, hundreds have been tortured to death, 14 died on hunger strikes, 43 committed suicide, and at least 4 inmates have set themselves on fire to protest the cruelty.
That's a serious protest.
That's right.
Is a very
That's
serious
not
protest.
filing a complaint.
No, that is... The cruelty is worse than being lit on
That's
fire.
right. That is quite the statement.
That is cruel.
I would rather be lit on fire than stay here. Yeah.
Whoa.
According to reports, torture and cruelty were commonplace at Diyarbakir Prison. In addition to the usual beatings, food and sleep deprivation, crushing of limbs and genitals, extraction of nails and teeth.
The usual crushing of nails and genitals?
The usual.
The usual crushing of genitals.
Yeah.
Not an extreme crushing of genitals,
Yeah.
just the usual crushing of genitals.
Standard.
Yeah.
It's by the numbers.
And I'm not even done the list. So in order to in addition to all of that usual stuff, including extraction of nails and teeth and forcing prisoners to beat and rape one another, there was even the obligation to salute the captain's dog, a German shepherd called Joe, who was allegedly trained to bite the genitalia of naked prisoners.
Joe? Do you want to tell us something?
I didn't have to get trained to do that.
Joe? Are we going to find a German Shepherd costume in your closet?
Yeah, Joe's autodidactic.
Oh, yeah.
He taught himself
Yeah.
how to bite the genitalia
Of naked prisoners.
Yeah.
Precisely.
It just comes naturally.
So you had to salute Joe the dog, and it was trained to bite genitals. The only way this could get worse is if you're forced to salute it while it was biting your genitals.
Oh, what if you were forced to
Like,
salute it
thank-
with your genitals?
Therein lies... Oh, now I understand where all the biting came from. He was just returning a salute. He's just trying to be a good dog. Good dog. Good dog.
A well-known 50-year-old businessman, Felat Serniloglu, was arrested based on information extracted by torture of an inmate. Felat stayed 8 months, and he wrote in 1982, "One day I was told to stand on one foot. After some time I collapsed. This was to be punished. They made me open the lid of the sewage near the wall and take a handful of excrement and put it in my mouth.
Oh.
I was ordered to stand at attention with the excrement in my mouth without moving and without spitting it out.
I'll just swallow it.
When I was allowed to go into the cell, a prisoner helped me to wash my mouth. But no matter how hard I tried, I felt it in my mouth. My teeth were already loose in my mouth because of a severe beating. At the end, I couldn't stand anymore and extracted all my teeth one by one with a rope I found in my cell because I kept feeling the smell in my mouth."
No. Took out all his own teeth. This is like the absolute worst version of that fluoride they give you at the dentist.
Oh, yeah.
That you kind of feel like
slosh
grit.
around
Yeah.
for
You kind
like
of feel
30
that
seconds
grit
or
on your
whatever.
teeth for like the whole rest of the day.
Yeah.
This is like the sewage version of that.
It's not minty fresh.
Not minty fresh. It's, poopy fresh.
It's the extreme version of me finding out that there was pineapple on a pizza. It's like you just can't get that off.
You know what, though? When he did go to the dentist after getting out of prison and they asked him what flavor fluoride he wanted, ironically, he chose sewage.
Yeah. We didn't have any teeth left to give a crap about at the dentist. So
Yeah,
give me sewage for old time's sake.
Yeah, precisely.
See if I like it out of prison.
After the Tutsi genocide in 1994, when estimated 500,000 to 1 million people were killed in the attempted genocide. There was the small problem of how to dispense justice to those involved. Whilst awaiting trial, approximately 7,000 people were held in the Gitarama Central Prison.
Oh, that's in, where's that?
That's in Rwanda.
Oh.
This prison was built to hold 500.
Okay.
They housed 7,000.
Oh, wow, that's a lot more.
So that's 15 times as many almost? Wow.
14 times as many by my math. In the open courtyard where most people were kept, there's no space to lie down or move. In fact, conditions were so cramped that people are forced to stand day and night. The lucky ones, heavily air quoting lucky, may find a place to lie down in the toilets, of which there are only 20 for the prisoners to use.
Oh, it must be
20
one hell
toilets
of a lineup.
for
7,000
7,000 people. You know what you do? You use the toilet, and you just get back at the end of the line again to go to the toilet for the next time.
Yeah.
You're just like, I'm only standing anyway, right. I can't sit or lie down.
I have
so
enough problems trying to find out
line.
where the line begins and ends at like a Tim Hortons.
Oh,
Imagine an overcrowded prison.
So you're
I don't know where.
Gitarama
Are you
prison.
in line? I don't know if I'm in line.
Yeah.
Are you in line?
Yeah, it's the classic. Are you in line? Are you in line? Are you in line? Yeah, until you find somebody who's like asleep, standing up or something. Dysentery was rife throughout the prison, which the medical facilities struggled to deal with. With a capacity for only 25 people, each bed had several patients sharing a bed, whilst the one doctor and 8 healthcare workers did what little they could.
Right.
Of the patients admitted, 38% were suffering from trauma wounds, such as burst eardrums and bites from other prisoners. 41% had rotting feet from standing all day on the damp and dirty ground.
41%.
This has resulted in many having their toes, feet, and legs amputated.
Oh, God.
Desperate to survive, some Gitarama inmates killed and ate other inmates.
Wow.
In a 9-month period, 1/8 of the prisoners died.
Wow. That's horrible.
But...
Oh, silver lining?
But
now, I'm no bad prison apologist. But all of these people were being held for suspicion of genocide.
Okay.
suspicion.
Genocide.
Suspicion.
Genocide.
Suspicion.
Fair trial. I'm sure they all got a fair trial.
Yeah.
That's right. Awaiting trial.
Yeah.
Call back to our episode on wrongful conviction we haven't done yet.
Yeah. Call
Call
forward.
forward.
Yeah.
Call
Yeah,
forward.
there we go.
Camp 22, North Korea. Horyong Concentration Camp, or Hyeonyong Concentration Camp, is a political prison camp in North Korea. The official name is Kwanlee-so, Penal Labor Colony,
Right.
number 22.
Okay. So they have 21 others. At least 21
At
others.
least. Camp 22 is located near the border with China and Russia.
Oh, that can't be good.
It is situated in a large valley with many side valleys, surrounded by 400 to 700 meter high mountains.
Okay. So, very mountainous region.
The camp is a maximum security area, completely isolated from the outside world. Prisoners and sometimes even their families are held in lifelong detention here for petty crimes or for no apparent reason at all.
Right. Because you live in a dictatorship. A horrible dictatorship with one crazy leader after another.
There are an estimated 50,000 inmates inside this camp.
Right.
The camp was not included in maps until recently, and the North Korean government denied its existence.
Okay.
Google did not do that. Here it is on Google Maps.
Yeah, that came up recently.
Right. It used to have the Dick Cheney treatment, where Dick Cheney's house is not on Google Maps.
Oh, is that right?
That was true. That is true. It's a black dot.
It's a
Like his heart.
Just look for the black dot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything else on the world is there.
But you can't
look for
look
the
in-
part that's blurred, that's
right.
blacked out.
You cannot look in his backyard, though.
Oh, okay.
So you can't tell how big his pool is? Oh, no. He's so safe now.
He was off the grid.
What could he be doing back there?
Shooting his friend in the face?
That's right. A former guard describes the conditions in the camp as harsh and life-threatening.
Okay.
He recalls the shock he felt upon his first arrival at the camp, where he likened the prisoners to walking skeletons, dwarfs, and cripples in rags.
Right. Sounds very concentration campy.
About 30% of the prisoners have deformities such as torn-off ears, smashed eyes, crooked noses, and faces covered with cuts and scars resulting from beatings and other mistreatment.
Oh, as opposed to just rounding up people who had all those things already and
Right,
sticking
yes.
them in
Right,
the camp.
yeah.
Just going,
That's right.
you know, we need all the one-eared, smashed-eyed, broken-nosed people to go to this
You're
camp.
not allowed to have torn off ears anymore. Get
That's
to
right.
jail.
That's right. We only pretty symmetrical people allowed in the country of North Korea.
That would be the Hollywood version.
Right.
Around 2,000 prisoners have missing limbs, but even prisoners who need crutches to walk must still work.
Okay.
Guards are instructed to regard prisoners as slaves. The guards may kill any prisoner who doesn't obey their orders.
Wow.
Okay.
One guard admitted that once he ordered the execution of 31 people from 5 families in a collective punishment because one member of a family tried to escape.
Yeah,
Wow.
you need to make sure nobody else tries to escape. Reprisals and whatnot. I mean, this is classic dictatorship stuff here.
Except that now everybody wants to escape so that they're not one of the 31 people being killed because somebody else has tried to escape.
That is a good point. If
those
one
people
person is going to try to escape, all 31 might as well try.
Yeah, because
Right.
those ones didn't do anything bad. They were just related to somebody who did.
Yeah.
Prisoners get 180 grams of corn per meal 2 times a day,
Right.
with almost no vegetables and no meat. The only meat in their diets is from rats, snakes, or frogs that they catch.
Got it.
An estimated 1,500 to 2,000 people die of malnutrition there every year, mostly children.
I have had frog legs.
Did you catch it yourself?
I did not, but they're tasty. They're tasty. Not a lot of meat, though.
I don't know.
Not a lot of meat on a frog's leg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to swallow the thing whole. And then you get salmonella.
Yeah, you can't swallow it whole. Lots of little tiny bones. You don't want to choke.
Oh.
So 180 grams of corn is about 155 calories.
Okay.
So twice per day, they're getting 310 calories.
Yeah,
a
but it's
day.
all carbs, Joe. It's all carbs.
Yeah.
If Hollywood has taught me anything, that carbs are bad.
So it goes, well, what happens is it goes right through you. I don't know
Yeah.
if they're getting like cooked corn or not. But
You're going to
like,
get one of those distended stomachs from all those carbs.
you're going to die from 310 calories a day.
Yeah.
Despite these deaths, the inmate population remains constant, suggesting that around 1,500 to 2,000 new inmates arrive each year. Rape and sexual violence are very common in the camp. As female prisoners know, they may be easily killed if they resist the demands of the security officers.
Yeah.
Yep.
2 guards reported the following torture methods used in Camp 22.
Oh, I cannot wait for this. Playing Nickelback.
Torture from our music
Yep.
episode. Water torture. The prisoner has to stand on his toes in a tank filled with water to his nose for 24 hours.
Yeesh.
Hanging torture. The prisoner is stripped and hung upside down from the ceiling to be violently beaten.
Oh, okay. Huh? They could call that one bat torture as well.
Oh, yeah. Box room torture. The prisoner is detained in a very small solitary cell where he could hardly sit but not stand or lie for 3 days or a week.
Ooh, dude, I thought it was going to be you order something from Amazon and they send you the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Or in your attempts to open it, you ruin whatever the packaging on your
Well,
DVD.
that would not be a torture. That'd be great because you could order like the smallest thing for like a penny, and then you get all these boxes and filler, and like you could just use it as bedding.
I got it. Yeah, there you go. Oh, you're saying if you ordered something from Amazon while you're in the prison?
Yes.
Oh, I was thinking of my real life.
Oh.
I see. What your situation is much better because I mean they now have the drones, so they could drone that shit right in.
Yeah.
Pigeon torture.
Okay, they make you play that Hatful Boyfriend
Video game that we played on the YouTubes.
Yes.
Yeah.
The prisoner is tied to the wall with both hands at a height of 2 feet and must crouch for many hours.
Oh, so like standing like a pigeon kind of thing.
Well, 2 feet is like way down here. It's your hands, so you can't.
And finally, kneeling torture. The prisoner has to kneel down with a wooden bar inserted near his knee hollows, his knee pits, if you will,
Right.
to stop blood circulation.
Oh yeah.
After a week, the prisoner cannot walk, and many die some months later.
Yeah.
Oh wow. God, boo.
You don't want that one?
I don't know. I do not care for that one at all.
From 6 years on, children get work assigned, such as picking vegetables, peeling corn, or drying rice, but they receive very little food. Many children die before the age of 10 years. Aged people have to work to their death. Seriously ill persons are quarantined, abandoned, and left to die. Hundreds of prisoners are taken away each year for major construction projects, such as secret tunnels, military bases, or nuclear facilities in remote areas. None of these prisoners ever return to the camp.
Right, because if you got them digging a hole for a nuclear facility, you just bust a cap in their ass right after they're done construction. Just
Push them in the hole.
Yeah, the guard who reported this is convinced that they are secretly killed after finishing the construction work to keep the secrecy of these projects.
Yeah, of course. That's why you choose these people to do the construction on these projects.
Yeah.
And how did all these people get in this prison again? Are they all political prisoners? Is that how it happens?
You know, it's North Korea.
Yeah.
It is a political prison camp.
Yeah, it could have been because they were missing an ear or had a crushed eyeball or whatever, but it could also be because they said something bad about the Kims.
Single prisoners live in bunkhouses with 100 people in a room. As a reward for good work, families are often allowed to live together in a single room of a small house without running water. Prisoners have to do hard physical labor in agriculture, mining, and factories from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m., followed by ideological re-education and self-criticism sessions.
Self-criticism sessions. Okay.
I have that every day.
If you were in your self-criticism session at Camp 22 in North Korea, what would you say? What would be
I could have worked a little bit harder picking that corn.
That's the only self-criticism you would have?
Why didn't I bust out today?
I think this should be less self-criticism, more torn criticism. I have lots to say.
Oh, I see.
But I'll just be a giant gang
Well, it's
up.
a good thing I'm not in that prison then.
Yeah.
For just that one reason alone.
Okay. Joe, what would your self-criticism session be highlighted with?
Torrin already said the work harder thing. It would probably be like, why did I do that thing that got me caught? That got me in here. Whatever that is. I would be like going through like...
Why didn't I get out of this country while I had the chance?
Why the fuck did I enter North Korea?
No. You see, I would take the tactic when you're in a job interview, right? And they always ask you to talk about the worst quality of yourself. The answer always is, I work too hard.
That's right.
That would be my self-criticism. Like, my criticism is that I'm an overachiever. That's right. I work too hard. I love the guards too much.
I am too good for this place.
Yes.
That's my criticism. I am really too good for this place.
Precisely. I would turn on their heads. I'd be playing psychological chess with them. They wouldn't know how to take it.
That's right. Psychological chess, the same way that a pigeon does, just knocking over all the things and declaring victory.
Just as long as they don't have to play that hatful boyfriend again, I'm good.
New Year's Day is the only holiday for prisoners. They do get one day a year where they don't have to
New
work.
Year's Day. So I wonder what they do on New Year's Eve that they need New Year's Day off.
The mines are not equipped with safety measures, and according to the former guard, prisoners were killed almost every day. When there was a fire or a tunnel collapsed, prisoners were abandoned inside and left to die. Yeah. Corpses are simply loaded into cargo coaches together with the coal to be burnt in a melting furnace.
Got it.
The coal is supplied to power plant and steel mills, while the food from Camp 22's farms is supplied to the state's security agency or sold in Pyongyang and other parts of the country.
Right.
Satellite images from 2012 showed the detention center and some of the guard towers being razed.
As in R-A-Z-E-D. Yeah.
But all other structures appeared operational. It was reported that 27,000 prisoners died of starvation within a short time, and the surviving 3,000 prisoners were relocated to another concentration camp, Camp Number 16,
right,
within a 4-month period. It was further reported that the camp was shut down, security guards removed traces of detention facilities, and then miners and farmers were moved. Apparently, the authorities decided to close the camp to cover its tracks after a defection of one or more of the guards who provided most of this information that I gave.
Right, got it. Got it. So bad PR, shut down Camp 22.
Yeah. Yep.
All the other camps still doing this are fine.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah. Defections of guards, changing the penal system in North Korea. Woo! And penal system is in we should cut off Kim Jong-un's.
Oh, penile organ.
Yeah.
I would like to talk now about something in Peru. The Shining Path.
Per me?
Per all of us.
Okay.
This comes courtesy of our listener Colleen, brought this to my attention. The Shining Path is a terrorist organization founded by university professor Abimel Guzman in the remote Andean highlands of Ayacucho during the 1960s and 1970s. The group launched an armed struggle against the Peruvian government in 1980 that has cost an estimated 69,000 lives. The group was substantially reduced in size and capability during the presidency of Alberto Fujimori, including the imprisonment of its founder, Guzman, in 1992.
Okay, all right.
Now, Canto Grande Prison is the home for more than 100 women and 340 men who are members or supporters of the Shining Path.
And also a giant Starbucks.
Canto Grande?
Yeah, the biggest
I'll have
Starbucks
the Canto
you can
Grande.
get. Yeah.
There are 2 cell blocks in Canto Grande Prison are showcases of revolutionary discipline, order, and management. Several years ago, they persuaded the prison authorities to let them run their cell blocks without guards, to administer chores, and to do their own cooking. They refuse prison food and rely on relatives and friends for supplies.
Okay. Is this good or is this bad?
This Maoist insurgent organization ran their section of prison, staging plays with proletariat heroes, decorating the walls with murals of Mao.
All right.
Even making crossbows, knives, blow darts, and bombs in the craft shop and building defense barriers.
Okay. All right.
Some of the inmates are here because they are suspected of sympathizing with the guerrilla group, others because they carried out killings of elected officials, union leaders, military officers, and policemen.
Right.
While maintaining order, their boldness and the risk of a prison escape resulted in violent crackdowns at several prisons from the federal government.
Right.
At Canto Grande in 1996, police challenged the Shining Path inmates in a 5-day battle that left dozens dead.
What?
So it wasn't a dance battle.
No.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
It wasn't a wrap-off. Police found their floor plans did not correspond to the interior of the cell block.
Anymore.
The prisoners had built new walls and zigzag corridors to defend themselves.
Well, I mean, they were a revolutionary army, so they knew a little bit about fortifications. So I guess it started out, everyone thought this was a great idea because,
Well,
like when they let them run their own cell block.
well, there's more to the story.
Okay. Wow.
The government said 36 rebels and 2 policemen were killed. Rebel sympathizers claim more than 100 of their 300 comrades imprisoned there died.
Right.
The Canto Grande episode illustrates how a highly disciplined, fanatical rebel organization has taken advantage of Peru's corruption and inefficiency and challenged the government.
Right.
Poorly paid guards not only lack the motivation to confront the prisoners, they are also believed to have sold weapons to them.
Right.
Internal security documents from the penal system's files describe several incidents in which police delivered firearms, short machine guns, and drugs.
Are you dumb?
Several inmates were wounded or killed in shootouts before the crackdown.
Like, I can understand the thought behind being like a drug or a weapons seller, right,
Yeah.
to certain people, but not to the people who are going to use them against you.
Maybe they're just very charming. Right? They're very convincing.
Maybe.
It's like, dude, I need to protect myself against Bob in the cell next to mine. I don't need to protect myself against you. We're buddies. I'm giving you money. You're giving me guns. This is a perfect system. We haven't changed the floor plan of our cell block at all to increase defenses. I assure you of that. And we are totally, if you decide to crack down on us, we are totally not going to fight back.
A past prison director at Canto Grande filed a complaint in court against a police major who allegedly permitted the delivery of bricks and cement to Canto Grande without permission.
Right.
Here's
And
the stuff you
fortifications.
need to build your new walls.
Your fortifications.
Yeah. No action was taken against him. So that's a fun story.
Right.
So apparently you can go the other way of being too lax on your prisoners.
Yeah.
Apparently. Wow.
Yeah. All right. Oh, yeah, that's something.
In the news,
June 2015, Tadmur, Syria. When Islamic State seized Palmyra in Syria, one of the first things it did was blow up the Tadmur prison, the country's most notorious jail where for decades political dissidents were detained and tortured. It's synonymous with death, torture, horror, and madness.
Tadmur.
The prison was built by the French in the 1930s in the heat of the desert.
Well, evidently
the
they
desert.
were a tad more into torture and madness than they ought to be.
I get it.
But it was during Hafez al-Assad's 30-year rule between 1971 and 2000 that it gained its current reputation. Thousands of political dissidents were reported to have been humiliated, tortured, and summarily executed there.
Okay.
The arbitrary detention and brutal treatment of political prisoners at Tadmur began in the 1970s when an opposition movement started gaining momentum. Led by the Muslim Brotherhood and several secular parties, activists demanded political representation and the rule of law. The Muslim Brotherhood grew in popularity, and its armed wing carried out acts of political violence against the army and the Assad regime.
Right.
But in the late 70s and early 80s, thousands of supporters of leftist and Islamist groups were arrested. Many were executed or died under torture. The lucky ones spent 3 or 4 years in prison. Some were there for 20.
Oh, the less lucky.
I tell you what, I don't think I could actually be a brutal dictator because I don't think I have the taste for the wrongful imprisonment, torture, and murder that you need to be to really clamp down on a regime.
Yeah,
Right?
I agree.
Also, you got video games to play.
That's me.
Yeah, no, not video games. I got
got
movies to watch.
Movies to watch, yeah.
Precisely.
I don't want to do what they want. I got movies to watch.
Yeah.
A bloody massacre that took place within Tadmur's walls in 1980 is ingrained in Syria's consciousness. A day after a failed assassination attempt on Hafez al-Assad, members of the infamous defense brigades, headed at the time by Assad's brother, flew to Tadmur.
Okay.
Soldiers went from cell to cell, shooting prisoners with machine guns.
So hold on a second. So there was an attempt on the dictator's life.
Yep.
By the Muslim Brotherhood.
But somewhere else in the country.
Yeah.
And they went.
Probably in Darfur or something.
No, that's in Africa.
Probably
In Syria somewhere.
give me a Syrian city. Damascus.
Yeah, Damascus is
From
Syria.
Damascus.
Okay.
All right. So an attempt on the life in Damascus.
Yeah.
And then they travel some distance.
His brother. So you get assassinated.
No, they
And
attempt
Mike-
to assassinate.
Or they attempt to assassinate you,
That's right.
and Mike takes his buddies and goes to a prison
Well, that would never happen. But let's go with this anyway.
and just starts putting bullets into everybody who's
right.
in, I'm guessing, in the Muslim Brotherhood in the prison.
Okay, all right.
You try to shoot me, I shoot all your buddies in jail.
All right. Okay. I guess I see the sense of it now. I was very confused at first.
Quote unquote sense.
Yeah, heavily air quoted.
No one knows exactly how many were killed, but it's estimated that 500 to 1,000 people were murdered in just a few minutes.
Ooh.
Most of them were members or suspected supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood.
Okay.
Their bodies were dumped in a mass grave outside the prison.
Mm-hmm.
The prison was constructed in the style of a panopticon. Eye contact was absolutely forbidden.
Oh.
We used to distinguish guards from the color of their boots as we never saw their faces. After their is what one prisoner said. I'm guessing there's a quote right there in the middle.
Yep.
After their release, it was years before some prisoners were able to make eye contact with anyone.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah, that's a psychological thing.
I can believe it.
That's going to, hang on.
Inmates' first hours at Tadmur involved a so-called reception party.
Oh, that sounds nice. Finger
Canapes?
sandwiches.
Welcome.
Crudité. Oh, hummus. There's definitely hummus there.
Yeah.
I loves me a good hummus and some fresh pita. Oh, I'm salivating right now just thinking about it.
The warders pulled us off the bus, whipping us mercilessly and brutally until we were all out.
Whipping you with licorice whips, right? With licorice vines.
You're going to get to eat these
Yeah,
later.
whoopsie. Huh?
One by one, we were forced to get inside a car tire, and each person was beaten between 200 and 400 times on his feet.
Inside a
This
car
is
tire?
a big car tire.
Right.
Or maybe
Well, I guess you're in a car tire and your
your
feet
feet are
stick
sticking
out.
out?
Like
okay.
you're
like sitting in it.
Imagine like your back curved around the inside and then your legs are sticking out. So you're smacked on your legs.
What
on your feet.
about maybe it was just a precursor to a pedicure? They're tenderizing your feet.
Oh, I see. Everyone was in a bad condition, their legs bleeding and covered with wounds, as well as other parts of their bodies. Some of the prisoners died during the reception party.
Right.
Officers were innovative in finding new methods to humiliate prisoners. One prisoner reported that they resorted to strange and sick forms of torture, sometimes just out of boredom.
Right.
One night, the guard, looking from the ceiling window, ordered him to move all the slippers in the dormitory, about 100 pairs of them. He told them he could only use his mouth. He had to keep moving the slippers in this way all night.
Oh, that would take a long time.
That would take a long time. And there's that one guy who's got that serious
stinky-
foot cheese.
stinky feet.
Yeah.
Inmates would cry out for medical help for dying prisoners. The guard's answer was always the same: only call us to collect bodies. When Islamic State captured the building, it released pictures of the inside. Apart from the guards and detainees who lived to tell the tale, no one had seen inside its walls before. But the destruction of the building came as a shock for many who wanted to see it stand as a witness to the years of brutality.
Is that like you turn it into the
museum,
the Holocaust Museum.
Yeah.
Right? You like
Never
Dachau.
again.
Dachau outside of Munich is one of the most profound experiences I've ever had. Going in there and checking it out. It's very moving.
I don't think Islamic State is all that big on learning from the past.
Yeah, they like wiping stuff out. They like wiping stuff off the planet and rewriting history.
They don't want to say never again. They just want to say never again will anybody do this to us.
I got it. There's a long storied history of brutal regime following brutal regime after a brutal regime overthrow.
August 20, Missouri.
Wow. Only if we pronounce it like that am I interested in this story.
A diabetic man died in police custody after deputies reportedly left him in solitary confinement while refusing to provide his insulin medication.
Right.
Accusing the police of causing his death, the victim's family has called for an investigation into why he was denied his medically required injections. Although many people continue to die in police custody, officers rarely face any criminal charges for causing their deaths or allowing them to die.
Yeah.
After arriving at the Pemiscot County Jail in Missouri,
Missouri.
33-year-old Michael Robinson reportedly told the officers that he was a diabetic and begged them for insulin.
He diabegged it.
He diabegged it. Instead of administering his medically necessary injections, the guard threw Robinson in solitary confinement to silence him.
You know what silences people? Death.
Yeah,
that works.
It's the great silencer.
You know what silences a diabetic asking for insulin? Insulin.
Oh,
That would have been the simpler way to do it. Oh, yeah, the medic's got some of that.
you're not taking into account the asshole nature of the beast here.
Pemiscot County Sheriff's deputies allegedly refused to give Robinson medical treatment until he became too weak to hold up his own head. Robinson was eventually transferred to a hospital where his blood sugar level was monitored at 2,500.
Which
The
is
normal range is between 80 and 180.
Okay, that's high.
depending on the time between meals.
Yeah.
Robinson's death is the latest in a series of homicides, suicides, and medically inconclusive deaths that have recently taken place in police custody. Since 1999, Maricopa County has spent over $33 million in settlements or verdicts resulting from wrongful death cases involving jail inmates.
Right.
Although several officers are directly responsible for killing these people, few are ever charged with negligence or murder.
We've seen that really recently, in the choking death in Staten Island. All of them, none of them got charged, and a bunch of these really high-profile videos of police doing what seemed to be, on the surface, very horrible things.
Right.
And never seeing the inside of a courtroom.
In 2008, the American Diabetes Association estimated there were some 80,000 people with diabetes type 1 and type 2 in the U.S. prison and jail systems at any given time.
Right.
That number is expected to increase as the prison population ages.
And gets fatter.
Thanks to longer sentencing guidelines. The ADA calls for adequate training on diabetes for all prison employees, and that people with diabetes who state they are dependent on insulin should have their blood sugar levels checked within 2 hours of being processed. Medication should continue without interruption. ADA officials warn that the symptoms of hyperglycemia and hypoglycemia look a lot like drug withdrawal.
Yeah.
I just hope there's not this sort of misunderstanding where, some guards are told to really, enforce diabetes, protocols, and then they beat a bunch of people to death.
Diabetes.
Diabetes.
Yeah.
In 1976, the Supreme Court ruled that states and federal government must provide adequate health care for inmates. Since then, private prison health care has become a billion-dollar industry, but there also have been many charges of inadequate staffing and neglect.
Right.
Diabetes care in prison is also complicated by issues of noncompliance among some inmates with diabetes as well.
Right, so don't necessarily take care of themselves.
Yeah.
That's how they got in this situation in the first place.
Well, maybe they want to commit suicide, too. It's a big thing in prisons.
Yep.
Now, Kevin,
Yes?
what piece of pop culture would you like to talk about that is prison-no-centric?
Well, it's Shawshank.
Yes, but
Right.
we're going to talk about that in Prison Break.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. I love it. What do you want to talk about then, Torrin?
Well, I watched a movie called Ernest Goes to Jail.
Now you have my attention, because that is the pinnacle of the Ernest Goes to ... franchise.
Yes.
It is, in my personal opinion, the greatest of all the Ernest
Of all the
movies.
many Ernest movies.
Yeah, that is my personal fave.
This was from 1990 with Jim Varney and Charles Napier
Sure.
as the prison warden.
Outside of Jim Varney, who the hell cares?
Bumbling Ernest P. Worrell is assigned to jury duty where a crooked lawyer notices a resemblance to crime boss Mr. Nash and arranges a switch.
Yeah.
Nash assumes Ernest's job as a bank employee while Ernest undergoes Nash's sentence to the electric chair.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's set up at the beginning of the movie. Here he is. He works in this bank.
That's right.
And he's
Kind of a bumbling
washing
idiot.
the floor
Yep.
with this, and the shampoo just goes everywhere, and eventually he gets electrocuted.
Okay.
This is basically a much better Electro origin story than Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because then for the rest of the movie, whenever he gets even the slightest shock, he bemes like Super Meg, like all these things. It's actually pretty funny.
And-
there are some funny parts in this movie.
And not only that, like, he will randomly at times just kind of like go and start twitching.
Yeah. Mhm.
Right? Like completely at random, and not necessarily any catalyst whatsoever. And of course, rubber-faced Jim Varney milks it for every
yeah.
comedic,
Sure. Oh, yeah.
every comedic second that is humanly possible when he's twitching as he's like electrocuting from the inside.
So when he's in prison, he
Yeah.
goes to the electric
Electric
chair
chair.
and is killed.
Yeah. And you
But
think,
instead of-
that's it. The Ernest franchise is over. Now every Ernest movie from now on will be Evil
Well,
Mr. Nash.
Ernest
That's
goes-
what I thought the first time I watched
Ernest-
it. But no!
Ernest Goes to Hell will be the sequel.
Plot twist. What? Ernest Goes to Hell?
Yeah,
No, Ernest Goes
fantastic.
to Heaven.
Oh, sorry.
No, but Heaven got
Purgatory?
they thought he was supposed to be in
there's a
prison.
switch up.
There was the switch up,
Switch
right?
up.
So they thought he was Mr. Nash. So the movie's going to be all about him dealing with heaven and hell's bureaucracy to
I don't
prove
know
that he's
about
not the
this.
bad guy.
I don't know if I approve of this message.
Hey, Jesus, it's your old buddy Ernest.
Yeah.
Hey, Jesus.
What you talking about, Jesus?
So
Now
it's-
listen, you said if I believed in you, I'd be able to come to heaven.
Yeah. Well, what am I doing here in hell?
Know what I mean?
Know what I mean?
So instead of dying, he becomes Electro.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
you
goes on a rampage of like blowing things up with his electrical powers. It's awesome.
I never saw it coming, and it is awesome. Like, when you watch this, for the first time, I might add, I've seen it more than once. when you see Ernest Goes to Jail for the first time, and then you think that the governor's going to step in or they're going to engineer an escape, but no, he gets electrocuted, dies, but then turns into a superhero. I've seen a lot of Ernest movies, and this is the plot twist to end all plot twists.
Right.
It's fantastic.
Although there was some suspension of disbelief for me when they didn't like tie him down in an electrical chair and you just kind of had him sitting there.
Right.
But,
Okay.
you know.
You're watching an Ernest movie.
It's
Suspension
true.
of disbelief kind of comes with the territory.
And the prison guards had these weird salmon colored.
Oh, the whole thing is so ridiculously stylized, but that is kind of an Ernest hallmark. How many
Yeah.
of the Ernest movies have you seen, Tor?
2.
Right. They're kind of all like this. You know, I mean, even like Ernest's outfit that never changes, right? Mm-hmm. That he never seems to change and nothing ever alters. Like,
they are milking their formula.
It is a cartoony.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he is a real life cartoon character.
He's a live action cartoon.
You feel like he could actually make that ooga face, like in reality. Like if they just said, "Hey, Jim Varney, we want to play this sound effect, and we need to go ooga. So just make a face that would go with it." And I feel like he could accomplish that.
Now, I don't even know if we've talked about where the Ernest character came from, why this character all of a sudden showed up and got to do these movies. He was just a character in like a bunch of, was it insurance?
No,
it was commercials?
He was a spokesperson, actually. He started out in radio.
Okay.
He had this business partner who came with this idea that they would invent this character, and they would go to every territory, and this character, because he was funny, would do local ads for every single territory around the country. And they started out doing radio spots, and then, of course, it like upgraded to TV spots. Mm-hmm. So every single major market in America had a very regional specific Ernest ad going on in the early 80s.
And they were kind of funny.
And
I
they were
remember
funny.
enjoying those movies or enjoying those commercials.
Yeah, in the Pacific Northwest, he did Pacific Pilsner. That was his beer that he hawked.
That's right. Yeah.
And he also did car ads. He did car ads for different car dealerships. Would kind of rotate around whoever was paying him at the time. And because everybody knew Ernest because he was doing that character in every major region in America, it eventually led to a movie deal. Of course,
Which led to many, many more because they were
many
super cheap and super easy. Yeah,
absolutely, and compelling character.
Compelling, absolutely. I could relate to his face stretching abilities.
When you brought it in, I thought for a second you were going to come down critical on Ernest Goes to Jail, and we were going to have a fight. But it seems like, Torrin, you are coming down firmly in favor of Ernest Goes to Jail.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it is entertaining.
Okay, I rewatched a movie that I had seen when I was quite young called Brubaker.
Okay,
1980 film.
Baker. Is he a brewer or is he a baker?
Yeah, I was about to say, pick a thing that you make, beer or bread.
He makes beer battered bread. I don't know what a brew baker would do. Mm-hmm. Posing as an inmate at a small Arkansas prison, the new warden of the penitentiary, Henry Brubaker, played by Robert Redford, with his dashing good looks and beautiful hair. There's even a scene where he gets in there, so he's pretending to be a prisoner,
inmate.
right?
Yeah.
He's an inmate, and he witnesses all the stuff going on.
So he's a new warden, so they don't know that he's the warden. So
nobody
the first
knows.
thing he does is get himself put in as an inmate so you can see the inner workings.
It's good. The movie starts off with him on the bus going to prison. And is
this a true story?
It's based on the real-life efforts of former prison administrator Thomas O. Merton to reform the Tucker and Cummins prison farms in Arkansas in 1967 and 68.
Okay.
And Merton actually served as a technical advisor for the film.
Okay.
So it's it's not a retelling, but it's the stuff that he saw is in this.
Yeah. Inspired by it.
Yes, exactly. And he did actually go undercover. Merton did as well.
Okay.
And there's this one scene I was thinking, oh man, Robert Redford's known for his gorgeous hair, right? That was the thing. And there's this one scene where they get in and everybody's going to get their head buzzed. Yeah. And he slips the guy money and gets to keep his hair.
Oh. Got it.
And I'm like, oh, that's kind of convenient.
Yeah, got it.
But then fairly quickly, he gets to see a whole bunch of horrible things going on and then reveals, I'm the new warden. Then actually the really interesting stuff starts because you think, oh, good, now the new progressive fix everything warden is here and it's going to get better.
Right.
And it does, but then all you see is the resistance from all of the entrenched power people. This prison actually has all of the guards, it seems, are prisoners.
Okay.
So it's prisoners who are relatively well behaved.
Right.
Literally get to have guns and be up in towers.
Okay.
To shoot at other prisoners who might try to escape. And that, I remember in 1980 when I saw this, it super confused me. And it's still now, I'm like, is this to save money? It can't possibly. Does it work? There's this group of prisoners who are now guards, sort of.
Yeah.
And they have way more power than the other ones, and they all want to maintain it, even though they're the corrupt motherfuckers, right?
Right, of
and
course.
so he's got problems dealing with that, and then you've got the state senator who doesn't like him making waves and wanting to spend money. You've got all these people in the local towns who are getting super cheap labor from the prison.
Of course.
And they were giving kickbacks to the old warden, but the new one, of course, doesn't want to do this. So he's trying to fix everything, and nobody likes that.
Right.
So the movie starts off horrible, gets hopeful, and then goes, yep, when you're trying to do good, people are going to try and stop you. And it doesn't even end. I mean, it's a super old movie, so I'm going to spoil it. It doesn't end very positively. He basically ends up trying to fight, and they're like, nope, and he has to like leave his job, and a new shitty warden comes in and goes, we're going back to the old way, everybody.
Right.
And, yeah, it's
on the verge, like
terrible.
after those sort of like 70s, the 70s Renaissance, where you were allowed to tell unhappy endings.
This has actually got the first credited role of Morgan Freeman.
Oh, okay.
He plays this solitary.
He's only been on about 1,001 movies since.
Yeah, I know exactly. He and for a first credited role, it's fantastic.
Oh yeah, comes full circle with Shawshank here.
Oh yeah. He plays one of the prisoners, and the first time you see him is he just gets out of solitary and grabs another prisoner and threatens to break his neck unless they listen to him, because he's like losing his mind because he's been in solitary so long. And Morgan Freeman's performance is amazing. Robert Redford talks him down, and you can see him kind of realistically be kind of crazy and accept what he's doing. Really good stuff throughout the entire film.
At what point does he break into talking about penguins? Is that in the crazy part? I feel like he talks about penguins and everything that he does.
What about Alien Cubed?
Alien 3.
Alien 3.
Oh, yeah, the David Fincher feature film debut.
I kind of like it.
You know, when I watched it the first time, when it first came out and saw it in theaters, I hated it. And then I've subsequently seen it once or twice, maybe 1.5 times.
Yeah.
Not as bad as I remembered it.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's passable. Like, you can see the germ of a film in there.
Yeah.
Ellen Ripley is the only survivor when she crash lands on Fiorina 161.
That's the main problem right there. Only survivor.
A bleak wasteland inhabited by former inmates of the planet's maximum security prison.
I like the fact that Fincher introduced the alien POV in the chase sequences.
That's right.
Yep.
Once again, Ripley must face skepticism and the alien as it hunts down the prisoners and guards.
Right.
Without weapons or modern technology of any kind.
Yeah, because, of course, they're prisoners.
Ripley leads the men into battle against the terrifying creature.
Yeah, so we went back to being a single alien again.
And a smaller one, right? Didn't it? It was born out of a dog in this one.
So it's kind of quadrupedal. IMDb trivia.
Oh, okay.
First-time director David Fincher disowned the film, citing constant studio interference, and actually walked out of production before final editing began. Upon completion, the studio dismantled and reworked the film without Fincher's consent, and even released a misleading teaser trailer that suggested it would take place on Earth.
Of course.
Because the script went through millions of iterations.
I've heard you can buy the original online now, the original script, and it's supposed to be better.
I mean, spoiler, I do enjoy the fact that, Ripley was infected and, killed herself by jumping into a giant thing of fire. It was,
Yeah, if you haven't seen Alien 3 by now.
Yeah.
Dr. Clemens' line, this is Charles Dance, Tywin Lannister.
Tywin.
His line about Fury 161 being one of Weyland-Yutani's backwater prison planets was the first time the name Weyland-Yutani was spoken out loud. It had appeared on computer screens and props in the previous 2 films, but characters always referred to it as the company.
Yeah,
dialogue.
right.
Oh, yeah.
Although the alien that hatched from the dog was a puppet, early filmed tests used an actual dog in an alien costume.
Nice.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's such a cute little alien. Ooh, it's so cute. You get the alien to roll over and play dead.
Yeah, that's right.
You get it to
cute.
fetch. Yeah.
Fetch that guy's chest.
Yeah.
Michael Bain, who played Corporal Hicks in the previous movie Aliens.
Michael Biehn?
Michael Biehn.
Yeah.
Upon learning of Corporal Hicks' demise, demanded and received almost as much money for the use of his photograph in one scene as he had been paid for his role in the entire film
Good
Aliens.
for him.
There you go.
Because that's my number one complaint about it, is the very opening scene of Alien 3 makes the survival of those 2 characters from Aliens worthless.
Yeah.
Because they don't even get to wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? They don't get to wake up and experience a little bit more life.
One of the earlier scripts had Alien 3 being mostly those other characters, and Sigourney Weaver having a very small role.
Oh, that would be
Really?
nice.
Yeah, it's been like Newt and
They
Bishop
probably-
and
Because they probably figured that
Bean.
Sigourney Weaver would be most expensive,
Probably,
right?
yeah.
And
she didn't, and she was kind of resistant to doing any more movies.
but I
as
can
well.
I can also understand why the studio would not care for that. That we must have Sigourney Weaver. She's the linchpin for this franchise.
That's not the formula we're used to.
Well, Sigourney Weaver's pretty great.
She is.
She's pretty great.
So is Michael Biehn, I think.
Is he
As
as good
Hicks?
as Sigourney Weaver?
No.
No.
Maybe him and Newt together would be, though.
I don't like that combo one bit. Don't care for that at all.
How about Rura Pente,
Oh, Rura Pente from
the Klingon penal colony?
from Star Trek Undiscovered Country and some episode of Enterprise.
Widely known as the aliens' graveyard due to the fact that the life expectancy for a prisoner there was at most 1 year.
Okay.
Right.
Again, barely seemed like a prison and more just seemed like a place to dump people.
Yeah, and they would mine dilithium.
Oh, that's right.
In the caverns.
Right, of course. Of course. There's always a dilithium mine.
And then outside it was super cold, right?
Yes. It was a cold wasteland. So even if you got out of the prison, you had nowhere to go. There was a field to prevent transports. Right, transporter transporting.
So, did anybody ever escape?
Yes.
Yeah,
Captain Kirk and Dr.
Captain
Bones
Kirk.
McCoy.
Okay, got it.
They escaped.
All right.
My guess with how
So-
shitty it was, lots of people actually escaped. They just never admitted it.
Yeah, maybe.
Because really, all you had to do was walk in the cold for a bit and then get beamed up.
And I liked how the Klingon had a Russian accent, as he described it as a gulag.
Oh, yeah, okay.
There's probably a Siberia-ish type place on the Klingon homeworld where they have a slight Klingon-ish Russian accent. I'm fine with that. It's like the Doctor Who thing where they say, if you're from another planet, why do you sound like you come from the north? Lots of planets have a north.
Yeah. Well, it was if it's the original series, it was a thinly veiled allegory for the Cold War anyway.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
So the
That
veil
whole-
just got even a little bit thinner.
Yep.
Has anybody watched The Prisoner? Because I have friends who love it and they'll get mad if we don't mention it.
My brother and our producer and sound engineer, Mike Leeson, massive fan of The Prisoner.
Yeah.
Forced me to watch multiple episodes.
Yeah.
And my response was the same every time. This is too weird. He's like, yeah, it's weird. Isn't it great? And I went, no, it's too weird.
Oh, do we all agree?
And then The Saint would come on. I'd be like, oh, this is entertaining. And we'd watch Roger Moore's The Saint.
Yeah.
And then Star Trek would come on after that. I'd be like, I will not put up with this.
Oh, see, now we
And I'd
disagree.
leave the room, right? Whereas my brother would watch 3 hours uninterrupted of television. One of the episodes that I have seen is the final episode.
Yeah.
So I know how it ends. I'm not going to say it.
Is there a giant bubble?
There's always giant
There's bubbles in lots of things.
Yeah.
It's such a weird feeling to know you're alive. It's such an awful feeling. You're dying inside, and when you wake up, starting to say, I hope I don't go crazy today. It's such a bad feeling, an ominous feeling, a feeling you know that we'll be back when the week is new. And we'll have more gross facts for you. And you'll have things you'll want to hear about. We will too. Zoo, 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 zoo.
Caustic Soda was recorded by Mike Leeson while riding on the back of a panicking war elephant. To comment on episodes and for links and show notes, visit CausticSodaPodcast.com. Support the podcast by donating on our site or visit patreon.com/causticsoda. Visit us on Facebook, tweet us on Twitter @CausticPodcast, email us at info@CausticSodaPodcast.com. I'm Max Bobbitt. Thanks for listening.
Zoo, 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 zoo.